Well, hey, everybody. Let me go on and get my screen shared. I'm going ahead and warn y'all. My child took over my computer yesterday, and man, oh man, oh man, did he go to town. And I now have like 2,000 screenshots on my screen that I'm gonna have to figure out how to remove. Guys, it is so lovely to meet y'all. I am thrilled to be welcoming you today. Hopefully, you were sitting in a much warmer place than Charlottesville, Virginia. We got 12 inches of snow and we're pretty much snowed in. So I will warn you that I'm hanging out at home today because we can't really get out just yet. I've got my kids. You are going to hear things in the background. So forgive me in advance the fact that we are getting like record-breaking winter storms going on. I've got a couple of members of my team on here with me. Alex, I see you on here. He has come in from Boston. He probably got much more snow than I did. But he's probably dealing with it much better than we are. Alyssa, I think, is likely on here, but that's a really good question. She is trying to get back from Arizona. So, Alex, let me just ask this. Is Alyssa on or are you popping on her behalf?
I don't see her yet. I was just kind of hopping on because I wanted to really just be part of this one. This one was so special. And I had the free time because I am snowed in, Lise. So I'm here.
How many inches did y'all get?
Every bit of 24 shoveled us out, and then we got another seven right behind it. And I do see Alyssa on, just she's in the background too.
You guys, I don't know if everybody else is grappling this week, but like our team, we are a team of 71. I would say about 60% of our team is grappling with some level of this snowstorm or a snowstorm in Europe. And so I feel like we're rocking and rolling on along on this. I'm sure there's a good chance that some of y'all are. In fact, I should go on ahead and ask, where is everybody coming in from? Let's go ahead and find the chat. Drop on in where you're coming in from. I'm sitting in Charlottesville, Virginia. Alex is in Boston. Alyssa is trying to make her way back across the country. So, Indiana, New York City, Chicago, Salt Lake City, Toronto. Oh, Ray, we just don't even want to say Miami, do we? Montreal, Laura's in Miami too, Austin, Florida. Yes, Dallas. Oh, yeah. Anyone who says no snow, I'm a New Orleanian, y'all. I just don't believe in snow on this one. Oh, Morgan, take me to Kona. Carrie's in Maryland, so she's not far from me. Robert's in South Florida. So love seeing this. We're going to see people from all over on the call today. What really unifies y'all is that you are existing boutique fitness studio owners or aspiring boutique fitness owners who have hit the multi-six or seven-figure mark. You are or you own a multimodality wellness center with a fitness focus that has a brick and mortar location. Doesn't really matter what your modality is, guys, or where you're located. We work with around 1,800 studios every year in 48 countries, everything from major tier one markets to little tiny towns of 3,000 people. What really unifies you is that you are ready to scale at least 50% in the next 12 months without adding more work to your plate. You're seeking a minimum of 30% profit margins as you scale. You're excited to put into place systems and processes because you want your studio to run like clockwork. You are ready to hire the right team and you want that team to generate an ROI. So I have to ask, out of all four of these, what are you guys the most excited about? Like just put a one, two, three, or four. You can put more than one. You can tell me you want them all. Drop that into chat so I get an idea of like what you're prioritizing right now, what you're focused on as you're going in. So Brenda's like three systems and processes. Ooh, we got a couple of threes in a row. Stephanie gave me a one and two. Leanne is another three on this one. I'm a big fan of processes, y'all. I've never seen this many threes early on come in. And it gets me excited because as someone who was once very people rather than process driven, well, you realize once you put the right processes into place, once you put the right systems into place, everything shifts and changes on where this is. And I really want to make sure this changes for you on this. Love seeing lots of those ones and one, two, three, and beyond. Yes, and yes, Morgan, I am there with you on this. This is a chance for you to this is a chance for you to truly do something special and to take this year and harness it for the best. So, what are we going to cover today? So, first, the trifecta of studio scale. What is going to grow your revenue and protect your profits? Guys, growing your revenue sounds really sexy. It is only if you are growing your profits that I really want to see this. Four buyer types that are going to walk into your studio, how to speak to each one of them. The studio grow projection and budgeting system. I want to make sure that you're really focused on a 30% plus net profit margin on this. Five process types, guys. I built my studios, they were wildly successful. Even as we were building a new brand last year, these process types were truly what we founded on this. Now, these are things that I think we have come pretty close to perfecting. We do them every single day with thousands of studios owners in 48 countries, like Leslie. I know I've got someone else from Toronto on there right now. Leslie is sitting in the heart of downtown Toronto. She said a year ago, I'm celebrating my first seven-figure year thanks to Studio Grow and our years of work together. After living through the years of Toronto's restrictions during the pandemic, I thought it would take years to take this leap, not 12 short months. I paid myself a six-figure salary 2 years ago, multi six-figure salary last year, and I thank Studio Grow for this. So, guys, to give you an idea, she took a whopping leap. 2023's revenue 695,000, 2024's revenue 1.25 million. 2025's revenue, we're waiting to get the exact numbers, but we think in a single studio, she was probably pushing close to $2 million on this. Michael Abbott is sitting in Australia. He came to us with a really thriving Pilates studio, but he said, I'm thriving, but I'm losing so many people every single day. I think that that's something that the moment you have a studio open, you understand attrition matters. And so he said, we identified attrition as a key area to work on and did so through the second half of last year. Last year, we changed how we offered private sessions to a membership structure. We've added almost 40% revenue through the processes for that specific category of service and an overall 25% increase in revenue. And then Caroline Planbeck came to us. Caroline bought a failing studio in Portland, Oregon. And she said, look, I have to turn this around. Like, this isn't an option. It cannot stay where it is. I've bought this to build something that was going to be profitable and a nest egg for my family. Studio Grow was really where I went to have all the processes and strategies to be able to reach the dreams I had for the studio to make it my one stream of income. What I think has been amazing is that she grew so fast that it quickly became clear that the original studio wasn't going to be able to hold everyone. We're going to talk more about what she's done to expand because it has been so fun to watch this journey. Now, this is a live training. There will not be a replay. Please take your notes, ask all of your questions. You've got myself on here. You've got Alex and Alyssa on with me. Whatever questions we don't answer during the training or can't because of timing, I will take in our Q&A afterwards. I am snowed in, y'all. You can have me all night long. This is where it goes on this one. We're going to be done hopefully in a little less than 90 minutes with the training. I'll stay on afterwards for Q&A. For those that are interested, though, I'm happy to share more about how we work with people to open their studios profitably and grow their studios profitably. And we can stick around to the end. I've got an amazing, amazing resource from y'all. This is from lead to studio member. This is literally every touch point that we use. We test an awful lot of things of how we communicate with people when they come in as a lead through when they become an introductory package to becoming a member. We send 50 million emails a year, about 20 million SMS and WhatsApp messages. So guys, I'm super excited for you to dig in, see all of the scripts, all of the touch points that we want you to make, all the ways you can really shift people to understand what your studio is all about. Now, if we have not met already, my name is Lise Kuecker. I mean, I'm married a Norwegian and I got one hell of a last name. I am the founder and CEO here at Studio Grow. I was born and raised in a family of entrepreneurs. I opened my first studio in my early 20s. I sold my first Studio Grow group in the mid seven figures in 2016. I went onward in 2023 and was brought into a project where I got to build a brand that I had been dreaming of. At the end of 2024, we got a $25.8 million valuation on this. So I have been knee deep in knowing what it's like in this industry and doing it for the better part of 20 years on this. Not only have I been an entrepreneur in this, I founded Studio Grow in 2015. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary last month on this. We have 71 of us literally sitting all over the world. We have owned and operated over 400 studios in the US, Canada, UK, Europe, Middle East, and Asia Pacific areas. Guys, I never imagined that we'd get to help this many studio owners, but we've worked with over 5,600 studio owners. And we have just gotten to watch how this industry has changed and how we're able to shape this industry. Now, here in Charlottesville, Virginia, I am lucky enough to live with my husband, Dan, who actually serves as our chief legal officer. He's one of two attorneys who's on staff with us right now. And I get to be mom to two precious boys, Kit and Remy, 7 and 17 years old. And man, oh man, oh man, they're rocking my world. Now, y'all, I have to say, when I was starting my studios, I had a lot of ideas about what the fitness industry could be, but I quickly learned that there was a dirty secret nobody really wanted me to know. And that's that the majority of fitness studios were never going to be profitable. The BFS network released a report at the end of 2023 that showed that only 9.4% of studios were sustainably profitable with profit margins of at least 20%. Now, here at Studio Grow, we follow a classic business school model of sustainable profitability, meaning that we want you to have a minimum of a 30% profit margin to show that you are sustainably profitable. We realized really quickly after that report that everything that we had thought anecdotally, that about 1 in 10 studios were profitable, was probably accurate. And as we've been tracking for the last 2 years since that report came out, it's clear that that number is almost spot on correct. And we've seen time and time again with thousands upon thousands of studios that come for us for help. It doesn't matter if you're $100,000 a year studio, if you're pulling at $500,000 a year, $45,000 a month, or if you're $1 million+ a year studio, nothing can fix an unprofitable model. And we try to throw a lot of things at it. So it's not more leads, it's not more members, it's not more revenue, it's not more team, and it's certainly not what we're most tempted to use, which is more and more time. Guys, when you add more of these things, the fact of the matter is any of these solutions can exacerbate your problems. They can leave you in a place that you don't actually want to be. Now, every week we get somewhere between 20 and 30 applications to join Start Your Studio Profitably, 20 and 30 applications to join Grow Your Studio Profitably. We ask a lot of questions in those applications. One of the most important questions that we ask when we get on a call with people is, hey, are you paying yourself a fair wage? 90% of studio owners tell us no. In fact, over 50% say, hey, I'm not actually paying myself at all. And we've got incredibly intelligent people, high numbers of doctors, engineers, attorneys, people who have come from senior management, C-suite level positions. They've put in time and they're like, why am I still struggling with my studio? Why is this the only thing I've really struggled with in life? Now, when we dig in, studios give us a couple of reasons why they're not as profitable as they want to be. 94% say this is a marketing problem. Maybe that they don't have a big enough budget, maybe that there's too much of a strategy curve. They don't have the time to put into the strategy of this. Maybe that it's overwhelming. Maybe it is a tech related issue. 77% say, I do not have enough time. 74% say it's a team problem. Maybe I'm struggling to hire the right team. Maybe I'm in a very unusual market. Maybe I don't have great recruiting or onboarding processes. Maybe I am struggling. Maybe I'm struggling with the team that I already have, and they're just not producing in the way that I would like them to do. And 42% of people say, hey, it is a sales related problem. Now, I'm curious if you're on here right now, let's pop into chat and tell me, out of all of these, what do you see as your biggest problem? And maybe it's not on this list. Like you can drop something else in there, but what is your biggest problem that you're like, I'm not where I think I could be on this? Ariana says sales. Yeah. Samantha says marketing and sales. Leanne says exposure. That's a really, really good term. Camissa says marketing and sales. Amber as well. Allison as well. Stephanie as well. You guys are all coming in on this. Carrie says marketing. Dillian says time, sales, definitely exposure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, exposure is a piece of what marketing does on where this is. Marketing, sales, and team. You can see how these stack up like over and over and over again, how you're like, whoa, we quickly wind up with these all becoming major issues for us. When in reality, these should be the things that are driving our biggest success if we can systematize them and turn them into a process on this. Now, I love peeking through applications that come to us. I don't get to get on a lot of the calls anymore, but I get to see an awful lot of the applications. And I thought it'd be worthwhile just to peek inside of them so you can see, hey, this is what other people are grappling with. So this is a studio that opened in 2023. At the very end of it, they just celebrated their second year anniversary last month. Annual revenue was sitting around 240,000 when this came in, but are you profitable? No. Are you paying yourself a fair salary? No. Biggest obstacle to growth. I'm working way too hard. I do not have time to do it all, but I'm having to do it all because I don't have a team. And I realize I don't know what I need to do next to fix all of this. Guys, one of the single best skills you can learn as an entrepreneur is knowing exactly what to do next. It's so tempting to be like, I'm going to choose the easiest thing. I'm going to choose the thing that's right in front of me. I'm going to choose something that's going to take the least amount of time. I need you to focus on exactly what is next in your studio. Then we get a studio that's a little bit older. Studio opens in 2018. This was a studio that when it came to us, low months were around $50,000 a month, high months were around $80,000 a month. It sounds like those are great numbers until we get to the are you profitable question and people are like, hey, I'm breaking even and I'm occasionally profitable. Are you paying yourself a fair salary? Absolutely not. Biggest obstacles to growth. These repeat what a lot of you said. Marketing, sales, the wrong team, and never enough time. Okay. I'm hitting a perpetual brick wall of what I'm supposed to be doing. Now, this last studio is a studio that is relatively well known. It's been all over the news. There's a good chance many of you know the name of this studio. It opened in 2007. Its annual revenue when it came to us was 1.5 million, but it was running only a 10% profit margin. Now, guys, if you have $1 million a year studio on a 10% profit margin, your take home pay in the United States with our tax system is going to be about $60,000. That is not what I consider a fair salary. And you can see, are you paying yourself a fair salary? No. Biggest obstacles to growth. If I'm not there, I'm not growing. How many of you guys, let me just get a yes into chat. How many of you have been like, if I'm not there, I'm not growing? Like that is an absolute yes. Yes, I love the vibes on this. I like the yep. Yeah, I mean, like we've all thought this, right? And I have been in this place where I was like, I am the fuel behind my studio. And y'all, I do not want you to be the fuel. I want the processes and systems to be what fuels rather than the person, because that person almost always becomes you in that situation. Now, every one of these studios could be profitable if they get to the root of their problem. They've got marketing, sales, and retention processes plus day-to-day operations that really don't exist or are not working on this. Our studios feel oftentimes like a leaky bucket. Like every system that is missing has punched a little hole through the bucket on this one. Some of them are teeny tiny pin-sized holes. Some of them are like gaping wounds where you're like, wow, I'm just bleeding from this. Your job on this is to make sure that rather than pouring more things into a bucket that's already leaking, that we take a hot second, and that's really all it takes is a hot second, and we start to close up the gaps inside of our studio on this. Now, I have seen many, many, many struggling studios. It's clear that many studios in our industry are struggling or certainly aren't performing the way they could be performing. And my thing that I am absolutely crystal clear on is that it doesn't need to be this way. Now, I learned this not from a place of ease, but from absolute error. I opened my first studio in DuPont, Washington. It was inside of Intel Corporation. It was this magical moment when I got to build out this studio, and we had one of those first years that I felt like it was pretty fairy tale, if I'm being honest. I had 250 plus regular clients, 7 instructors, 16 weekly classes. We averaged between 50 and 75 people in class. I charged more than anyone else actually in our area. I was definitely above the industry standard on this. And this looked great until I wound up having to pay my taxes on this. So my husband Dan, he does my taxes and really had led them at that point in our life. And I remember I'm sitting across from him, like little foster son Cody was with us, and he's looking at me and he's like, I've got I got to tell you, like I'm showing a net loss after taxes. I'm showing you lost almost $24,000. on this. And all I could think was, oh my God, I just paid to work 60 hours a week because I was putting a ton of time and a ton of energy into really building this up, training my team, driving this on ahead on this one. Now, I am a very determined soul. And one thing I was clear on is that my numbers look too good in too many areas to say, hey, this is something I should throw away. I had a feeling I had a model related issue that I had a broken model and I was going to need to shift and tweak that model into one that was more profitable. Now, it took a couple of years, not going to lie on this, but we went from around $23,000 being lost in 2006 to over $1 million in net profit just a few bit later. Lois, this is part of the meat of all of this. So sorry on that one. We use all of Studio Grow's a profitable stack to scale on this. Now, all of the processes and systems that we built is where this comes from. It's important to know because sometimes people are going to tell you things that sound too good to be true, and they actually have no business telling you this because they haven't done it over and over and over again. Now, guys, everything starts with the right model. This is foundational to this. If you do not have the right model in place, you are going to really struggle. There is going to be no point moving forward. From there, we really get onward to the perfect pricing and product stack. At Studio Grow, we've got a team of pricing experts. This is their main job. We've successfully priced 5,600 studios, 48 countries. We know a lot about pricing. 99% of studios' pricing is wrong. Nothing above this is going to work. Then there's the rapid growth trifecta, something we're going to be dialing in a lot today on marketing, sales, and retention on this. Next, it's managed day-to-day operations. These are normally run by a dream team on this. As someone who has grown a dream team multiple times, this is something that is very possible, but it's got to be diligent. You are running a people as a services business. Your people are literally what you are selling in the end on this. All of this takes you to a scale and growth plan. Now, I'm curious, just so I got everybody on here, what do you really want when it comes to scale? Like, as we're looking at this, are you looking to have a highly profitable studio? Do you want a franchise? Do you want to own your own real estate? Do you want to have a thriving teacher training program? Will you drop this into chat? Like, what are you really hungry for right now? Like, if you were going to scale tomorrow, what do we need to have built you towards that you can do? And guys, there's a million different ways. Your answers should look different than everybody else's around you. I mean, that's going to be natural because your version of scale is likely going to be different than every person's around you. So, yeah, just drop into chat. What are you looking to do? Ooh, I love this. Thriving Teacher Training Program. Guys, teacher training programs, the biggest one we're working with right now does $13 million a year. Can be amazing. A lean, profitable studio. $20,000 monthly revenue. I want to be in a position to invest and open a retreat center. Thriving teacher trainings, profitable this. Ooh, franchise opportunities, but want growth in this one to feel comfortable. Increase my profitability so I can purchase or build a new facility to get out of this lease. Okay, so you see how different all of you were on this, how different your scale is. Guys, all of the things that come underneath that scale plan have to be driving you in that direction. So for Kabisa, who's like, hey, I really think franchising is an opportunity on this, we're going to want to completely operationalize this. We want to make sure that she has got clear recruiting systems. We want to make sure that people can replicate this over and over and over again on this one. Now, when people ask about how long does this take on this, normally when I take this look and say, gosh, what are you going to do if you want to make some shifts in there? In month one, I really want you focused on model, method, and market. These are things that you can really make sure you're making the tweaks and you have the profitable model. You are establishing yourself as a distinctive method. So not just another studio. I don't want you to be a commodity on this. And you're really understanding who's sitting in your market. Now, for me, immediately when I start working with someone, we build out pricing and product stack for them. By month two, I want them to roll that out. That is a process unto itself, and I want to make sure it's done correctly on this. By month three, all the sales process we've been thinking of are being rolled into place. By month 4, we're starting marketing on this. And by month 5, we are refining and optimizing marketing. I always take marketing after sales on this one. I do not want you to waste money on this. If you can't sell the leads that are already there, we're going to have a problem if we start to add leads into this. All the things you've been putting into place for retention should start leading to some compound growth in month 6. In month 7, we start all the operations. This is when you start to step backwards because operations are put into place. By month 10, you should be a recruiting machine. And this is really important. You do not need to have the biggest team in the world. Some of you are going to be naturally very intimate teams. Some of you are going to have very large teams, but you need to be great at selecting your teams and how you're going to onboard them. By month 11, it's budget refinements you put into place the whole way. That's where you start to see profits explode. And month 12, what I'm really looking for people to do is at the very beginning, when we start working with people, I always start with what are the CEO benefits you want? Like we know what an average CEO in the US makes. It's between like 320 and I think $850,000. We also know what the average person that owns a boutique fitness studio owner makes, and I think it's in the neighborhood of about $45,000. There's a massive gap between those two. So we really say, what do you want your CEO benefits to look like on this? Scott, this is exactly what I'm talking about for studios that are already open, actually. That's the one I'm going through right now on this. So that's how I would roll this out. So your CEO benefits, what are you going to pay yourself as a monthly salary? How much paid time off are you taking? What are your bonuses going to be? What are different add-ons that you're going to have? It might be that you're paying for in-home housekeeping or your cell phone or a car lease. These are all going to be the types of things you're looking for. But this is the process. If you already have a studio that is open, that I want you to think in this way of how you're making these shifts. Because if you try to make them all at once, what you're oftentimes going to find is not only are you going to be overwhelmed, your clients and any team that you have are equally going to be overwhelmed. You want to see results like Stephanie Dunlap. Now, Stephanie came to us, and it's been a really fun thing because we've got to work through her through many phases in her studio. She came to us as a physician who said, look, I want to open a studio profitably. I don't want to see people in the ER anymore. We opened with 196 founding members. And then it became a question of how does my model shift? As she settled in, she was like, I think my studio can look very differently. We added IV therapy, recovery, body work, a holistic med spa on this. Like these are key things that we were truly hunting for to make sure she could replace her physician's salary. We looked at Caroline on this one. Now, Caroline bought a struggling studio. It was breaking even sometimes. 12 months in, she was like, whoa, I have doubled my revenue. I have membership. I've got a 30% profit margin on this. And I want to make sure that I am continuing to build and grow. Carolyn wound up just buying a new building. They are right now, they finished build out, I think, about a week and a half ago. They are in the midst of pre-sale. They are waiting on equipment. They're going to sell out their pre-sale of their second location. And for those of you that are in more unique markets, Khadijah came to us and said, I want to be the premier Pilates training center of the Middle East. Teacher training was very important to her. She really believed that she could have the premier studio in Kuwait. She came to us as a one-woman team, now with a team of 14, financially supporting her entire family throughout this. Now, all of you that have studios are going to be going through 4 stages of the studio. So the first stage is the startup stage, and startup stage is pre-opening. Your goal in this stage is very simple. All I want you to do is to open profitably. Now, open profitably for me means 2 things. You are able to pay your operating expenses and your practitioner expenses. Now, how many people are in the startup stage? Let me go ahead and have you drop startup into the chat right now if you are there. Perfect, Ariana. I see that and I love that on this one. Laura, Brianna, Amber, Stephanie, you are hanging out just beyond that. Aline, I see this right now. Now, if you have opened correctly on this one, we're going to get you to the grow up stage. So grow up stage on this one is $0 to $20,000 a month in recurring revenue on this. Oh, Shannon, I love 11 years in and just moving to a bigger space. This is a grand reopening that you've got going on. I count that in the startup stage, by the way, on this. So grow up stage is a stage I don't want you hanging out in very long. I think of this as like the ugly adolescent stage of studio ownership. Like Voices are cracking, pimples are showing up. Like this is something where marketing, sales, and retention is going to drive you to the next stage. Now, how many people are in the grow up stage? Drop in grow up into chat if that's where you're at right now. Yeah, Aubrey, I see you there. Allison, Scott, Morgan. All right, I gotcha, I gotcha, I gotcha. Dillian, there we go. Yes, please on that one. All right, ideally, here's what I want you to know. When you get processes and systems into place, I am looking for 3 to 4 months to get you to a build up phase. 20 to $50,000 a month in recurring revenue. Build up is where I'm focused on team and processes. Like this is when you are stepping back. You've got a good funnel into your business, typically speaking. Marketing and sales are not normally the predominant problems. If you're going to scale out of this phase, you need team and processes. So let me ask real quick, how many people are in the build up stage? Just drop it build up for right now on there. Yeah. Look at all this as we go on in. All right, guys. And for those of you that you're sitting here right now, where I really want you to go is your scale. Scale is north of $50,000 a month in recurring revenue in an individual studio location. Guys, scale is really enormously possible in a single studio. And I think oftentimes people come to us and say, oh my God, I got to have more than one studio. I've got to have this and that. Alex is on the call right now with us on our team. He had 22 studio locations. I was a multi-studio owner. Our largest studio is going to do 4.5 million. Oh, actually, it's not true. They did $4.5 million last year in a single location space. And I think that that is critical to know. Now, the formula that most of us get wrong on this is we assume harder and faster equals more. And oftentimes you're getting more leaky systems, more leads that are going unanswered, more people that are coming in on intro packages and are not converting onto members. I'm not looking for those type of mores. I'm looking for something that is much more thoughtful. And the way that we oftentimes see ourselves and our studios overlap is pretty remarkable on this. 3 roles you are absolutely going to have in your studio. The first role is the operator role. You are wearing 110% of the hats. You are teaching a ton of the classes. You are providing some of the privates. You are there to answer every email, clean every toilet. You are there to do whatever it takes. And ironically, guys, we oftentimes think that the more revenue we have, the more hats we take off. Guys, revenue and hats have nothing to do with each other. Your hats are related to processes and people. You've got to get the right people doing the right process. Now, how many people are like, I am an operator? Just put operator into chat right now for me if that's where you are sitting at right now. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I think this is something that a lot of us has been. Yeah. Ariana, Samantha, Elizabeth, Aubrey, Laura, Carrie. Yeah. If you're sitting in this operator role, we've got to come in and we've got to disrupt something. We've got to put something different into your business because operators typically burn out as owners. This is not where people want to be. Now, owners are focused on day-to-day management. They normally have a sales or studio manager that is in place underneath them. They are managing the owner. They are managing a team member who is leading the day-to-day management. So if you're an owner right now, will you put owner into chat right now? If you're like, this is where I sit today on this. Let's go ahead and see. Yeah, Stephanie is sitting as an owner, Aline as an owner on here. Yeah, so we can see that there is this dramatic shift when we step back and out of the day-to-day of the business. Now, what I really want for every person is to be an investor. Now, an investor is a strategist. They are focused on team and scale. They're not thinking about the day-to-day nearly as much. Someone else is now thinking about the day-to-day of this. The measurement of an investor stage, really simple. We did this with 38 people last year. You can leave for a month. You are not going to talk to your team. You are not going to have a conversation with them. Like literally, unless there is a fire, you are like stepped back from your studio and your studio hits every growth goal. Now, do I have any investors on here right now? We just put investor in if you're like, I am sitting in an investor role right now. This is the hardest role to get to because I have to be honest with you. It means that you have really built up such a system and such a bench of people that you can handle this going on. Now, I didn't go through this immediately. I was an owner and operator from 2006 to 2008. I became an owner fully. I hired my first day-to-day manager on this one in 2008. By 2010, I'd hired a regional director. We were starting to open multiple locations. I really stepped back as an investor. I realized that I didn't need to be at all in the day to day of my studio. Radical shift moving forward. The main way that I got through this and really triggered that was through the rapid growth trifecta. So let's dive on in sales, marketing, and retention. Now, without the right processes and systems for your marketing, sales, and retention, your studio is never going to achieve peak profitability. And guys, you're going to stay on a revenue roller coaster. And it's not like the revenue roller coaster that's like the kiddie roller coaster where it's like these baby ups and downs. It's like you're riding some monster thing at Six Flags that's going to flip you around upside down. Nobody feels great after that. Now, to get there, we start with captivating your audience. The best marketing doesn't just like get somebody interested, it captivates them. It causes them to say, hey, I'm going to step out of the day to day of my life and I'm going to step into your studio. Now, I want to get a good idea of where everyone on this call is right now so I can tailor some of these things to you on this one. So I've got three questions. We're going to do a little audit on your marketing, sales, retention, starting with marketing on this. So, do you have 2 to 4 high converting and high selling intro offers that you've tested in the last year? Meaning you probably only have one intro offer running at a time, but you've tested a couple of different offers and you were like, this offer performs the best. This was the second best offer. This was the next best offer. Let me just get a yes or a no in the chat right now. Have you actually tested your offers? Can you tell me where this is? So, Allison, perfect example of this. No, intro offer selling but not converting. Kamisa says yes on where this is. Okay, so we've got a mix on where this is. The testing is critical. The number of people that say to me, hey, what should my intro offer be? It is a lot of people. And y'all, we have got a significant amount of intro offers that you have, whether you're a private studio, a small group studio, a large group studio on this one. We are looking at so many different options. And what really matters is how your audience responds to that. You could have 5 different studios. We just ran this test in a studio group with 5 studios in Southern California. We wound up with 3 different intro offers that tested based on regions. We have literally different intro offers running at different studios. Actually, we combined it down to 2 because they were very close on the second and third on this one. But I think that was absolutely critical for this. Now, when it comes to having intro packages, we got to make sure we share them. For those of you who are like, yes, I have this, but no, I'm not selling as many of them. Ariana, I see that on where this is. Are you sharing those intro offers consistently across a wide range of marketing channels? And y'all, this is so important that you have this. You don't need every marketing channel on the planet, but if I went to Instagram and I went to the last 7 posts that you had, did you say, I would love to invite you into the studio? We'd love to welcome you in if you haven't been here before. Just give me a yes or no. This is a consistency question. Are you being consistent in sharing that intro package? All right, love that, Morgan. Love that, Stephanie, on where this is. Like that gets me really excited because, guys, consistency is process driven. Like, on Monday morning, you have checked and that you can see that you are inviting people in across the board. Consistency is more important than quality. I hate to say this on your marketing. You can get away with much lower quality if the consistency is there. Now, don't answer this one just yet because we're going to go through some benchmarks. Dillian, I think I saw you ask me this earlier. I have a lot of benchmarks for you right now. So, are you getting the right number of leads in for your size studio every day? So, we look at an awful lot of studios' data. We gather data from studios all around the world who come in and submit for our state of the industry survey that we do on this one. So, we've created some benchmarks over the last 2 years that we're like, hey, if you're going to be a moderately successful studio on this, this is going to be something that is incredibly important. So, yeah, an intro package can be a free offering. It could be like a free first class, although I would say that's done maybe about 10% of the time. But it could be a 2 week introductory package where you can come as many times as you want. It could be 3 free privates. It's something that gives people a taste of the studio. Now, really important as I go into this, leads are not intro packages. Leads are when somebody gives you name, email, phone number typically, or name, email, WhatsApp contact, and you are able to follow up with them, to communicate with them, to become an intro package and hopefully to then become a member. But it all starts with the right number of leads. So if you see people privately in duets and trios, we consider you a private studio. We're looking for 1 to 2 leads a day, 30 to 60 leads a month. Small group studio, 2 to 3 leads a day. Small group is going to be 4 to 10 people with an instructor at a time. It's like my small equipment studios for Pilates. Small group personal training are most typical here. Some of my like very intimate yoga studios may fall on the fringe of this. Mid-sized studios see 10 to 20 people with an instructor at a time. So this is a lot of my group reformer studios, my smaller bar studios, my mid-sized yoga studios. It might be some of my much smaller spinning studios that maybe have like 18 bikes. A lot of my tread-based studios fall into this. And so mid-sized studio, 4 to 10 leads a day, 120 to 300 leads a month. My large studios have more than 20 people with an instructor at a time. I'm looking for somewhere between 10 and actually, if I'm being honest, anywhere up to 30 leads a day. So somewhere between 300 and 900 leads a month. So this is the top of what we need. When people are like, I got to fix my marketing, I have a marketing problem. The first question I really ask is like, how many leads are coming in and are they right for your size studio? So simple question to all of you. Just give me a yes or no in chat. Are you sitting with the right number of leads? You have a benchmark now. Where does this sit? Okay. Big asterisk on where this is if you're not. Yes, Camissa says, yes, so hard to follow up. This is where we're going to need a sales process and be very careful because leads to intro package is sales rather than customer service on this. So I want to make sure we're being very thoughtful on who is digging into this. The gap that we oftentimes see is, hey, I need more leads. Like that solves a lot of problems. More leads typically does mean more intro packages. More intro packages typically does mean more members on this one. Now there are some processes that are likely missing in studios on this. The very first one is, hey, I haven't tested the right intro packages. We did this every single year. We took a month of the year. I highly recommend the month of March or April as a great time to do this. We literally would take 10 days, 10 days, 10 days, 10 days. So split the month into three. And for 10 days, I would put X amount, whatever dollar amount it was, I would market an intro package and I would see how is it performing? Is it selling? Is it converting? There are two things that you're looking for in this. I do the second one for the second 10 days, the third one for the third 10 days. That was my test. I made sure that not only was I on the right marketing channels, and I got very intensive on understanding like what marketing channels were important for my audience, but what my consistency was. Like I had a set schedule every week of when I was inviting people in, when I was doing it on Instagram, if I was doing it on other social media platforms, when we were updating my Google My Business profile, how I was engaging with people over email and whether it was newsletters or separate emails, how I was engaging with different types of people. That became a process unto itself. And then the two most critical things, I got exceptional at the right tracking. Like I started looking and tracking every single person. And then speaking to Camisa on this one, I got really good at follow up. This guy's follow up is where this is at. Now, when it comes to the right tracking, the biggest mistake we oftentimes see is, hey, almost every lead should be in your CRM. And the reality is, guys, most of your leads in the majority of fitness CRMs are not there. They could be in WhatsApp, they could be in Messenger, they could be in your DMs, they might be in your Instagram comments and likes. Someone might be texting you, they might be in a referral that just came in. Someone might have sent an email or filled out a contact form. They might have called you and you might have missed your call. They might have dropped in for an individual class. They might have walked in. Guys, these are things that are not necessarily sitting in your CRM. When you start tracking correctly, you almost always see that you've got about 3 times more leads each month. That is 3 times the follow-up. Yes, 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 yes. That is also 3 times the number of intro packages and members you could be selling without adding any additional marketing budget to this. Now, speaking to sales follow-up, this is something that I think is insanely important on this one. Sales follow-ups in our industry are abysmal. Now, we look at a lot of different sales and kind of say, okay, if we imagine that you were a studio and you could sell 100% of your sales, like this is the total max you could really realistically sell. 2% of sales on the first contact, 3% on the second contact, 5% on the third contact, 10% of sales are made on the fourth contact. So all of a sudden, I'm at 20% of my sales. Like I could literally 5 times that if I keep going because 80% of sales are made on the fifth to 12th contact. Now, when we dig in and we look at a lot of studios that have an incredible, incredible amount of people that could be selling and following up on this, 48% of studios never follow up with a prospect. It's I tend to think a little lower than this, but this is what we've tracked so far. We have a team that's quite large. We go to probably at this point a couple of thousand studios a year around the globe, and the reality is it is insanely rare of how many people send us a DM back, fill reply to us from a contact form, reach back out when we've made a phone call on this. 25% of people make a second contact and they stop. They've gotten to 5% of their total sales. By the way, that is exactly what the average sales are right now. The industry standard is about 5 to 15% of people on an intro package will buy something. So we're right in line with our numbers on this. Only 12% of studios make more than 3 contacts. That is it at this time. Simplest way to do this. You pick what marketing channel they came in on. So if they called you, you call them back. If they email you, you email them back. And you're just going to say, hey, lovely to meet you. Have you ever done yoga before? Have you ever been on a Pilates reformer? Have you ever been to a spinning class or a cycling class? And then say, I'd just love to invite you into the studio for a session. I got space open tomorrow or the next day. What works best? 24 hours later, it's a quick follow up that I've got a space open for them. 48 hours later, I am like saying, hey, just know I'm here for you. We find that a lot of people, 50%, that's a very good standard, this, aren't going to necessarily respond to this immediately, but they are going to respond to this eventually. And you want to make sure that they know that you're the studio that they should respond to. Now, the second piece of this is conversion. Now, there's 2 different sales processes. The first is from lead to intro package. If you're only relying on automations for that, this is a significant problem on this. The second is from intro package onto long-term membership. So quick audit. So we're all on the same page. Don't answer this one just yet. I got benchmarks for you. Are you selling the right number of intro packages consistently and sustainably? I do want to call out those words consistently and sustainably. That means you're doing it on your average months. It is not your worst month. It is not your best month. 8 months of the year on average for studio are like good, solid months. 2 months of the year are going to be your best months. You're going to break every record. You probably barely need to market to do this. 2 months of the year are going to be very low performing months. That's going to be a very clear seasonal thing on this one. So benchmarks for how many intros I want you to sell every month. Private duets and trios, you want 10 to 20 a month. Small group studio, remember that's 4 to 10 people with an instructor at a time, 20 to 40 intros a month. Mid-size studio, 40 to 120 intros a month. Large studio, anywhere between 120 and 240 intros a month. If you are a wellness center that has 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms on this one. This is when we see you push beyond a large studio on that one. We have some other benchmarks for those, and I'm sorry, my brain is not going to go right there with where those are. But if for some of you are like, yes, I need to know that, I can answer that in the Q&A at the end. Now, my question is not, is this what you're selling? My question for you, very simple. I want a yes or no. If this was the number of intros you sold every month, would your studio start hitting the goals and your expectations for it? A yes or no on this? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And guys, I think one thing that's really interesting when we actually do this, we have a calculator that we use this on where people put their numbers into this. My goal for you is to sit in the top 40% of this range. So if you're a mid-sized studio, I don't really want you at 40. Like if you're there, I'm okay with that. I really want you sitting somewhere between 90 and 120. Like that's where I want you to go. If you're right now like, hey, I'm not here, I want you to mark a giant, I have room to grow. Okay, that is a critical place on this one. In fact, let's take a peek right now on the number of memberships sold on this one. Important for us to know that I look at this and say, how many long-term membership? 3 types of membership terms you're going to have in your studio. No term is month to month on this one. So normally it's monthly with a 30-day expiration. That actually means it's like a 2-month membership to start with, but that's okay. We'll call it month to month. Short term is 3 and 4 months. Long term, 6 and 12 months, typically speaking. Just so I have an idea, will you drop into chat what's the most common terms that you sell in your studio? Let me just get an idea. Is it 3 month, 4 month, 6 month? Yeah, Sarah says 6 months on this. Long term from Shannon, 3 month from Stephanie. I love 5 month. I've never seen that, Scott. I think that's actually I think it's nice to sometimes break the norm on this one and do something that's a little atypical. It's why I oftentimes like 4 months on this one, but I think 5 months can work really, really, really well on this. Class packages from Aline, I would love to see memberships from an accounts receivable perspective, month to month from Elizabeth on this one. So, if you're sitting here and you're like, hey, I'm at short term and month to month, I'm selling packages on where this is, we have some major opportunities on this one. All right, 3 month, 2 month commitment from sign up, 30 days notice for cancellations and freezes. So, Taylor, super classic 3 month memberships on this one. So when it comes down to the right number of memberships, private studio 5 to 15 memberships a month. And this is sold every month. This is not a cumulative total. This is where this is. Now, 5 to 15 memberships a month on this one. We're really looking for some powerful growth. If you're a private studio selling 10 memberships a month, actually, technically, I think if you're a private studio selling about 8 to 9 memberships a month, you are going to end your first year on track for a 7-figure year. You're going to be at a 7-figure run rate. For small group studio, 10 to 30 memberships every single month that we are looking to sell. Mid-size studio, 20 to 60 memberships a month. Large studio, anywhere between 60 to 120 memberships a month. This is where I want to see every studio. It's how we benchmark a successful studio versus a studio that has some significant room to grow on this one. Now, if you're like, wait a second, I struggled on my leads, I'm struggling on my intros, I'm struggling on my memberships, that's not going to be a surprise. If one of those is off, we're going to say that we probably have a sales issue. We probably have a tracking issue from a marketing perspective, and we may have a marketing issue on this. Those are all new membership sales. So not your cumulative numbers, Ariana, on this, but this is what you sell every single month. So guys, if you're like, I've got room to grow, will you just put room to grow in the chat right now? Like that is what I really want you focused on is like, this is where you see this. Yes, yes, yes. I love the RTG on that one. Yes, 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 and yes, you've got room to grow. Hello, my love on this one. Oh my goodness. I've got a tiny human with a very nasty nose right now. He hit a fence. Yeah, he hit a fence. This is what happens when your friend, the doctor, picks up your kid and they go sledding. Um, Amy, who's my favorite doctor in the whole wide world, we went sledding with my little sister last January, and while we were sledding with Amy, Morgan broke her back, my little sister on this one. And Kit went sledding with Amy today and completely walloped his nose. So Amy is bad luck for our family on this. I think we can absolutely say this. Now, you've already given me the average length of membership on this one. Important to know, not just what's that? Yes, you may, baby. It's important to know not just what you offer, but what is the best seller that you have. In fact, if you go look, I think some of our top performing groups that we work with, we believe in the idea of what Jeff Bezos figured out at Amazon. When you label something your best seller, it is entirely indicative of where this is. So I think insanely important. And I know we're getting a ton of questions. So guys, at the end of this, I'm gonna hang out with you as long as we can. And I will answer all of them as this goes. Biggest gap that we got is the number of memberships. The problem I oftentimes see is that people are not selling enough. Okay, we are recognizing that we can do much better. We can fill our studios much more. And that comes down to conversion processes. So the first conversion process is that you are not pre-booking all of your intro package sessions. There is a tipping point on every single introductory packages. For groups, it's typically 5 sessions that somebody takes before they tip over into really becoming more than 50% likely to become a member. In private sessions, it's 2 sessions typically done when less than 10 days on this one. So if I know that that's the case, the easiest thing for me to say is, let me get all your sessions booked. If I know I'm a studio that needs 4 sessions or 6 sessions or 3 sessions, I get to serve as a concierge. I get to have a bit of the hospitality on that, and that makes all of the difference. The second is that I'm not speaking to each buyer type. Every single person in the world falls into one of 4 buyer types. This is how, from a psychology perspective, they make a decision to purchase. We're going to look at those in just a hot second. The next is that you don't book a one-on-one conversation. I initially thought I would just be able to catch people. That is a myth. Your studios are busy and people are busy. You must book a one-on-one conversation. I'm going to show you how we do that in just a hot second. You're not giving a no-brainer reason to become a member on this one. This is a lever. It is a chance for you to be like, hey, this is my reason to become a member and to become it today. Maybe you're not having a one-on-one conversation or you are having the wrong conversation. Both of these are equally poor on this. We sell something that is expensive. Okay. An average studio in a group session is about $200 a month. That's about $2,500 a year on average, is what people are paying inside of their studio. That is not a small amount of money. It is insanely important that we explain to people what they really should be buying. One of the biggest things that's oftentimes missing is that we're not asking for the sale on this one. I think that is such a critical piece of the conversation. And by the way, this is not something that you can automate on that conversation. If you try to be entirely reliant on automations, you will never go beyond a 15% conversion rate. We have seen this tested over and over and over again. You are literally leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table on this. And finally, you're not getting referrals. We like benchmark for us 3 referrals for every single new member that is signed up. Now, this is entirely possible. Lindsay came to us, bought again, a failing studio, a studio that was struggling down in Athens, Georgia. And she said, I realized that I have a reasonable number of leads, not great, reasonable, but they're not being maximized at all. I think the studio was converting at 9%, which is a very average rate for most studios. Now we're converting over 60% of our yoga and Pilates intros onto 12-month memberships. No surprise, we doubled our revenue in the last year and are on target to double it again this year. All of this impacts a critical metric, and that is your conversion rate from intro package to long-term membership. This is something that you must be tracking on where this goes. Now, industry average right now on this is that you sell 100 intro packages, 5 to 15 will buy something. Now, y'all, that is everything from a bottle of water, a pair of toe socks, to a $25,000 private membership. And this is a number that does not work. If you look at this against other industries, you see how polarized we are, how poorly we're performing on average. It's also not a number that we should be at. We have tested and looked at all of our clients. And to give you an idea, we have clients in a million different types of what feels like a million different types of demographic scenarios on this. Big cities, small cities, sitting in all over the world on this. Our average right now is 56% onto a long-term membership, and another 20% of people out of every 100 intro packages that buy something else. So they buy the pair of toe socks, they buy the big private session package, they do all of those things. Now, guys, just to give you a couple of things from the industry average on this, so you've got this. Berlin right now is converting at about 4%. London is 8%, New York City 9%, Los Angeles 10%, DC and Toronto sit at about 11%. So you've got that idea as if you're sitting in any of those markets or a similar market to that, it's a good idea for you to understand what average is. And I promise you, average is not going to get you there. Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. So Studio Grow Mastermind members sold 4 times as many memberships as a typical studio in 2025. They did it without selling more intro packages and without spending more money on marketing. One reason we did this is we're very clear on the different buyer types. Now, from a psychology perspective, we are all influenced to buy in different ways. The smallest group of people, and also most likely to be an entrepreneur, are the spontaneous buyers. They come ready to buy. They do not need a pitch. They do not need you to tell anything. They made their decision before they walked in your door. I can remember the first time that I went to buy a gym membership on my own. It was like a little tiny gym. It was where it was. I knew I was only going to go out there and lift weights. I had a yoga and Pilates membership down the street. And this guy was like, kept being like, don't you want to hear anything about it? And I was like, no, I want you to run my credit card and I want to leave. Like it was a very clear thing on this. Methodical buyers, the majority of men, they come ready to ask questions. It is very critical for them that they can get their questions answered. That's how they're going to make decisions. Humanistic buyers are the majority of women. They want to hear stories on this. They're very influenced by other people's stories. Your competitive buyers are the fastest growing buyer type, and they're going to wait until the very last minute. This is our most distracted buyer. We've seen a lot more of these since the pandemic. They are literally just delaying the decision on this one. Now, based on this, do you guys know who each of you are? Can you put into chat if you know your buyer type, who you are, and what type you are? I'm very curious on there. Ariana says spontaneous. Yeah, we oftentimes get a decent chunk of spontaneous. Morgan says distracted. I absolutely love that. Samantha says humanistic. So you can see Stephanie and Sarah are also spontaneous. Do I have any methodical buyers on here? Brenda also spontaneous. That's it. That's a really interesting one that pops up less frequently on here than what you would normally see in real life on this one. So we've already seen that we've got a competitive buyer. We've got humanistic buyers. We've got spontaneous buyers on this one. We've got all of these that are on here right now that have just dropped that in. I promise you there's a methodical buyer sitting somewhere on this call. Now, this means, just like we have on this call, very intimate group of people, everyone walking through your door, you're not going to know who they are. You're going to have to just make sure that your communication works for all of them. So this is an example of a really strong email sequence. Now, 7-day, 14-day, and 30 days just indicates the length of an introductory package. So and what day you would send it on. So if you start on a 7-day package, you'd send the first email on day one, the second on day two. On a 14-day, you'd send the first email on day one, the second email on day three on this one. My first email is targeted to spontaneous buyers. I'm going to literally say, by the way, if you are ready to get started now, here's how. I want you to bypass that frustration of why do I have to wait for this? I want to make this easy. By the time I get to my next buyer type email, it's my methodical buyer types. I'm in frequently asked questions. I'm thinking about my biggest objections. So maybe one of my objections is I travel all the time. And I'm going to explain what we do and how we keep people who are traveling regularly, how we keep them frequent, how we make this work, how we shift and change this for them. Maybe it's for you're in a specific region of the world. My husband's from Minnesota. There, everyone has a cabin or cottage. And they want to know what happens if I'm gone for 2 months during the summer. Maybe they're asking about how easy it is to get booked into classes at peak times on this one. You're going to want to make sure that you're really dialing in what those questions are. Then I've got 2 emails that I'm telling lots and lots and lots of stories on. Like, I want to hear those stories and feel this. By the way, it's interesting. Stories impact almost every buyer type. They impact the methodical buyer the least, but they are incredibly impactful across the board. Now, then there is competitive buyer types. Ariana, you will not know what kind of buyer everyone is. You just have to make sure that you include communication to every buyer type on this. That's why all of this communication is on here, and we're hitting every buyer type on the communication. So we're thinking about all the different types of people and making sure we're speaking to different people throughout this. My competitive buyer comes at the end. Remember, they're waiting until the end. So at that very end, my final day, this used to be like my unwilling to do this at all costs. I'm going to send a couple of different emails. I'm going to make sure that I'm like, hey, this is when you can make your decision. I'm giving them an exceptionally good lever. That's a tool for them to make decisions on. And I am ready to go from here. Now, assuming someone has come into this, yes, Brianna, I am sending out these types of emails to all of my contacts at that cadence. That is everyone who goes in on an introductory package. That is a great intro package email sequence. It doesn't really matter. I'm not segmenting and saying, are you a humanistic buyer or this? Instead, I'm just going to make sure everyone gets the same thing. So they get at least one note that is really dialed into their buyer psychology type. Now, if I want to ask for a one-on-one, I do it 4 times. So first time is on typically my web page, or my landing page where I say, hey, this is my intro package. And I'm going to say something like, we're a little different than most studios that you've worked with or been to before. We make sure that we make sure that you're in with the right instructor at the right class or in the right private session at the right time, because we want to make sure you have an extraordinary experience. This is for every intro package member. Please book your concierge session on, and we'll give them a place where they're going to book this on. I am not giving them an option on this. I'm telling them this is an expectation in that language. I'm going to send this to them when they get their confirmation on intro package and first class booked emails. I'm going to send them after they book their first session. I'm going to send them an SMS or a WhatsApp message. And then for 40% of people who do not do this, I'm going to say when they walk into the studio the first time, if I've got a teacher or someone at the front desk that is checking them in, and I'm like, oh, it's your first time in? Fantastic. Hey, just so I ask, have you booked your concierge session? For the 40% of people that say no, you say, great, let me get it booked right now while you're checking in. And poof, we go on ahead and book it then. Now, once I have that one-on-one conversation, this is where I've got to make sure I ask for the sale. Like, this is the purpose of what this is. But I do this in a very prescriptive model. I don't necessarily feel comfortable with traditional sales. I feel very comfortable with educating people on what they should do next. My job is to really listen to what's going on. Like, what are the issues that they're currently having? And that's going to be everything from I just had shoulder surgery to, I have a super busy work week. I've got two little kids and I have almost no time. I'm going to diagnose what the problem is. Like, what are they really hunting for? What's the real problem that is causing them to not have this happen? And I'm going to be prescriptive in my membership. Now, guys, I'm not going to invent a brand new membership for this person. I'm just going to explain why the membership I'm recommending is what they should choose on this one. Now, I'm going to scroll ahead. That was a quick template, but for the sake of time right now, I want to make sure on this one. Now, this happens to be one that was written for a studio that has privates, small group, and group training. You may not have private, small group, and group training. You may be just a private studio or just a group studio or just a small group studio. So know that this was written specifically for them and know that this can be applied to your studio and your client. So I say, based on your low back pain and your fairly recent shoulder surgery. So based on what I know about you, I'd love to see you privately twice a week for a month, and then we're going to shift you into 3 times weekly small group training. This is going to ensure I'm strengthening your core and I'm staying safe with your low back in the beginning. And it's going to let you progress to our small group program. You're still going to get really personal attention there. Based on this, I'm going to recommend our annual 3 times weekly small group training membership, but we're going to switch out the first month for privates or our 6-month option that will not have the same savings. Guys, I want to say one thing really important here. We oftentimes assume people don't want a commitment. I think one thing that we have tested and learned extensively is that people want a choice. Some people want the utter flexibility. They want no commitment. They want none of these things, and that's fine. You want to have an option for them that offers that. Some people want a discount, and the savings are more important for them. And so it's very important that you offer both of those options and let them choose. Because just like you don't know what buyer type they are, you don't know what's more important to them at their inner core on this one. Now, I'm going to do, since you've been on our intro package, you get an extra special discount. It's $100 credit in your first month if you choose the annual membership. That's my lever. That's kind of saying, hey, if you're going to nudge and you're thinking about this, this is a really good reason to make this choice. And this is when I ask for the sale. What works best for you? Those are powerful 5 words on this one. Emily came to us and said, I was running a studio that had doubled in size year over year for 3 years, but I felt like the studio was running me. I wanted to be more profitable and less exhausted. I needed processes and I needed to put them into place. In my 3rd month of participation in the program, I have a 25% increase in revenue. I've raised my prices without losing customers, doubled my number of monthly members, and have a plan for more profit every month with systems coming together so my business can run itself. Now, if you have been in business for any period of time, you know that you've got people you need to start keeping. So let's do a quick 2-step audit on this one. Do you have an extraordinary 6 to 12 week member onboarding that ensures clients are consistently coming 2 to 4 times a week to the right sessions with the right team member? Now, this is really important. Let me get a yes or no onto this. If you have taken the time and you're like, I have designed a beautiful journey to get someone to become a client on this one. So they've gone from intro package to client, then we want to design a similar journey to keep them as a member on this. We now know, based on our algorithms, about how many times people come to your studio in the first 6 weeks, well, not how, when are they most likely to quit your studio? And we're so accurate that about 95% of the time we have it down to the week. So, guys, let me get a yes or no. Do you have a member onboarding in place on this one? Are you dialing this up? All right, guys, easy thing to fix. Every one of you can have this in place in about 2 hours. Okay. So if you're like, no, right now, I think that is insanely important. Next thing on this is culture. Okay. How many people would say that they've got great culture at their studio? Let me get a yes or no on this one. Do you have a welcoming and warm environment? Okay, I love it. The yeses are pouring in right now. Everyone's like, yes, this is something I've got. And that's really good. Has anyone on here ever worked for a place that had terrible culture? I mean, have you ever done this? Like, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Like, I worked at one place for 6 months right out of college before I started my first company, and it had the worst culture in the world. And guys, changing culture is like doing a 700-pound deadlift. It's really hard. Like, it is something you have to do day over day over day, and it's going to take time. And if you are struggling with a culture problem, that is something that I would say we can work on, but it's not a quick fix. Everything else we've talked about, you can make major strides in this in a very short period of time. This, not so much. Your homework question is to find out your lifetime value of an average client. So, lifetime value, average number of months you keep a member in a typical studio, about 3.5 months. You're going to multiply that by the average cost per month in your studio. This makes a massive difference. So if I was like, oh, I want to add a month, I want to go from 3.5 to 4.5 months. If you've got 200 members at $200 a month on that one, that is an extra $40,000 a year. In that scenario I just gave you, every month you add for your retention is an additional $40,000 that the studio keeps. So we can see how important that is. The gap here is lifetime value. Your current clients are canceling as fast as new clients are signing up. And y'all, that just does not work on this. Now, retention processes that are missing, no 6 to 12 week member journey, no non-usage process, such a massive deal on this one. Far too many month-to-month or short-term memberships. People's commitment is not just to your studio, it is to themselves. It is critical that you know this on this one. And of course, I'm blocking this one, so my brain is there on this. Allison, I'm so glad you're asking a non-usage process. I got it for you, my darling, right here. So, non-usage list, anyone who hasn't been in 14 days and they've got no future sessions booked. So if this snowstorm was to last a horrible amount of time and I didn't see my yoga studio for the next week and a half, I should go on a non-usage list on this one. Now, this is a really quick and dirty non-usage automated flow. It's not perfect, but guys, it will get the job done in a pinch. So make sure you hold on to this one. Day one, quick SMS or WhatsApp. Hey, I've missed you. I've got some openings the next 3 days. When can I book you in? I'm going to continue this flow with a handwritten note, another SMS or WhatsApp message, and then an email. One key thing on here, I am not asking them to book themselves in. I'm saying, let me book you in. Like, I want to take every barrier to get them back inside of the studio. I want to make this as simple as possible. Now, a lot of you are probably like, yeah, I had some things in place, but they're not getting used. And if that's the case, we're not managing our day-to-day operations the way we should. So on this, there are five types of operations that we would look to have on this, starting with daily operations. So each day of the week has its own operations. They are largely focused on sales, marketing, and retention. So think of this as the execution phase. Someone's doing this work, whether it's you, your front desk, or your sales team. These take about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day to do well in most studios. In weekly operations, we take less than an hour to make sure we're analyzing and executing on key changes, keeping everyone up to date, and communication tight. Monthly operations, think post-mortem, marketing, sales, and retention, what worked and what didn't. Quarterly operations, I'm digging deep into things like private, small groups, class usage. I'm thinking about schedules. I'm going to be releasing in my studio a new quarterly schedule. So I will have met with my team. We have talked about vacations, substitutions. I'm analyzing what may need to hire for that quarter. I'm putting out my 90-day marketing plans. And I normally spend about 2 days a quarter building everything out so that I can really kind of sit back and let my business run. Annual operations, it is a very strong piece of this. I like to focus on the big picture. I normally do a leadership retreat. We just did one here at Studio Grow. I'm thinking about things like, what am I going to pay myself? Like, what are my CEO benefits? Vision, mission, and values of our company, big promotions that we're going to be doing this year, what I might be looking at for my team and labor model to shift on this year on this one, calendars of what we're going to be doing each month, each week inside of my studio, team reviews, creative time on this one. Now, when I take out the 10 hours a week of work from weekly and daily tasks, think 16 to 18 days a year that I'm really working on setting up my studio for success on this one. I am managing a process on this to really drive people to where this is. Now, if we think about how this applies back to the different types of owners we have, the operator is the is an execution mode. The owner is an analysis mode. The investor is focused entirely on the strategic piece of it. He's not at all in the weeds down below. Fastest path to growth on this is to get these operations in order. And by in order, I mean, I always start with the day to day. Like that makes the biggest difference on really seeing things shift. Now, day to day, think four things you're focused in on: walkthrough and housekeeping, sales and customer experience, operations, and instructor and client follow up on this one. Every day looks a little bit different. So I thought we'd peek inside of a Monday, pretty classic day of the week. So you see at the very top, I've got some walkthrough. I have a housekeeping team that does deep cleaning on this. This is about keeping the studio neat. Then I get into sales and customer experience. So I'm checking and responding to voicemails, emails, website, DMs, messages on this. I'm on social media looking for new likes and comments. I'm messaging them an invitation to come in. I'm making sure I have all my social posts scheduled for the week, and I'm adding any additional ones I might need. I'm confirming any intakes, confirming any first-time visitors. I'm making sure if I prep something for them, a towel, a note, you name it, that it's ready to go. And then on Mondays only, I call my referral list. Referrals are critical for me. They normally make up in most of my studios about 60% of our new leads every month. And I text anyone who no showed an intake or ended an intro without purchasing. And then I'm going to update my lead tracker on this one. So 90 to 120 minutes in most studios in this. If you have an exceptionally small studio, you may be done in 60 minutes. This is about consistency. We talked about this earlier, that in marketing, I would rather you be consistent than perfect on your marketing. When you see consistency on this, even if it's not 100% perfect, I have never failed to see this really shift studios on this one. Now, Carrie O'Mara came to us and said, I think for me, it was working with Studio Grow, learning how important systems work, learning how to not just manifest, but to read a KPI and have very specific goals. Carrie is one of my people that a few years ago I called her and I was like, I think you're an investor. And she was like, well, how do I know? And I was like, pick a place in the world, go there, don't answer your phone. She went to Portugal. She liked it so much. She wound up living there 9 months of the year. She's opened her second, next two studios from Portugal on this one. Just amazing to see on this one. Bill said, hey, we had no problem getting leads. We're not in a huge market, but we weren't converting them and keeping them as long-term members. Like this is the biggest crux. It's the $1 million problem in most studios. We're busier now than ever. Not only have we increased the yoga side of the business, but the reformer Pilates side is approaching 40, soon to be 50%. Now, when we talk and speak about budgets of this one, there's a metric that really stands out to me, and that's 97% of applicants do not have a written budget that they maintain every month. This should not be a shock to me because I didn't maintain my budget every month for at least the first 3 years I was in business. It wasn't until I hired somebody that was doing it and presenting it back that I was like, this is something I have massively, massively missed out on. And guys, this is true. 6, 7, I just met another 8-figure a year studio that I just was chatting with earlier today on this one. That's like, we do ours every quarter. And I'm like, this has to change on this. This is an industry, we're not budgeting for today or for the future. Now, I thought I would take you in to what I like to see as a profit forecast on this. So I'll take this and show this. Now, this is a document that we use inside of Start Your Studio Profitably. This is our program that starts studios profitably, quite literal on this. So we always start on this one. Oh, I've left this. We always start with pricing. Like, what are your pricing going to be? What is your assumption going to be? How are we going to do this? And then we jump into revenue. So our pricing develops our product stack. Every single thing we're going to sell, the price it's going to be at, But our revenue forecast is when we say, this is what I'm going to sell every month. Now, this is focused on a new studio. We've got 3 years out. To be honest with you, I still do 3 years projections for most studios that we work with that are already open on this. This is something we're not pretty, we're extremely accurate on. So I can tell you, we ended 2025 within 3% under on projections, 3% over on expenses for the studios we were working with. And for us, that is our critical benchmark that we want to be within that range. I'm fine if you sell a lot more memberships and you blast through my goals. I do not want you to sell under this. Really important thing that I think is critical. So many people come to us and we can spot it from a mile away with an AI generated set of projections. One thing that none of the AI modeling systems have, they do not have enough data on boutique fitness studios to properly project for you in your individual markets. They're wildly off. I mean, sometimes to a point that if people would have opened their studios, they would have been bankrupt within a matter of a couple of months on this one. So I want to just really encourage you, be incredibly cautious on this. That is something that we have seen just radically in different directions. From here, we get our labor model on this. So labor model, this is all my different types of people that work for me. Practitioners are just people who are client facing. These are people who have overhead employees, so CEOs, front desk, marketing, like you name it. And then based on what I know about this, we build out labor models for our clients. So we're like, hey, this person might be at 15 private sessions on month one, but I can see that she's going to be at 20 sessions on month three or month five. I can see that she'll be up to 26 sessions on month eight or month 10. I can tell that this person is coming to us on the front desk and they're graduating college. They want to do this full time once they are through on this one. So I know that right now they're going to be at this, but we're going to be at something very different on the rest of this. And then operating expenses. Oh, how much fun. I love how somebody signed me out in the midst of this. Operating expenses on this one, that's just your budget. Now, when you put together your pricing, your revenue forecast, your payroll, and your budget, you are going to be able to get a net profit forecast. Now, net profit forecast, to be completely clear on this, is like entrepreneurial Xanax. Like this is where you can say, hey, if I'm not meeting this, something is wrong. You start to go into diagnostic mode. If I am exceeding this, do I need to expand my horizons? How can I do more of what I'm at? But you've got to have a benchmark or a baseline. And if you don't have that right now of this is what I should be doing. This is what I should sell in every single thing in my studio. This is what I should expect to do. You do not have the ability to project what your marketing budget should be. You do not have the ability to say whether it worked or it didn't work. You do not have the ability to say whether your sales or anyone who's operating that is doing it to full capacity on this. So absolutely critical piece on this. All right. Nick Lenny, one of my favorite humans. If you've not listened to her Pilates podcast, it is glorious. She said, if tripling our profits, retiring my husband, selling out 2 comprehensive teacher trainings wasn't enough, we found our third and fourth locations and it is time to scale. Michael said, without accurately tracking my key metrics and making strategic use of my time to tackle the most crucial areas of my business, I would have been half as effective and twice as stressed. Guys, my studios did not start off very auspiciously. Okay. I had a 60-hour work week. I made less than my 12-year-old babysitter. I made every decision. I did all the work to keep them going. And I was always fighting fires. It felt like something was always going up in flames. And the worst part of this is, in spite of all the work and in spite of all the passion, I had to learn the really hard lesson that hard work and profitability do not necessarily go hand in hand. Now, where my studios landed was something radically different. I had a 5-hour work week, a 7-figure salary. My team was always growing my business. I took 12 weeks of vacation every single year on this one. My husband was a special operations soldier. That was critical for our family. I had a mid 7-figure sale. My family last year brought in $350,000 off of the sale of my studios in 2016, off of that group alone. 36 to 39% profit margin annually on this. Now, this is critical because if I was going to tell you how you go from where you're at today, especially for those people who said I'm an operator or an owner, to how you get to an investor, these are the steps I tell you to take. I would optimize a profitable, sustainable business model that is not focused on you. You should not be at the center of this model. You should be something that can step back and advise and invest within the model. I would get really clear on correcting your product stack and pricing model. And every single year, I would evolve it. Like I would literally be like, on December 15th, I am updating it next year. I would get hyper focused on sales, marketing, and retention operations. These should be a well oiled machine. I would build day to day ops any team member can run. I would select, onboard, and train my ideal team, and I would make that a priority to get as good as any recruiter on this. And I'd get really strategic. I would take my scale and growth plans and I would say, that's my North Star. And I would be reverse engineering based on what you want to do. Now, I got there, y'all, by taking everything that didn't matter off my plate. And I got very clear focusing on the systems and processes that drove my revenue and profits. We did it all in Studio Grow's profitable stack to scale. Now, guys, I'm going to let my dog out real quick. My sweet 18-year-old dog is like, dear God, this is my time on here. Fiona, come on out this way. Come on, darling. In the meantime, and let me take about 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you more about how we work with people to start their studios profitably and open their studios profitably. A lot of you have been dropping in questions. Alyssa has been grappling and pulling those off to the side. But if you've got questions, now's your time. I want you to drop those in. Insanely important. I'm going to be spending whatever time it needs because I'm trapped in my house. So this is very easy. I will answer your questions for as long as you want me to. Your questions don't have to be on what we have been talking on today. I will answer whatever they are on this. So, Grow Your Studio Profitably is the program in which we work with most people who have existing studios or are going to open their studio in the next 2 months. This is a 12-month one-on-one consulting and mastermind program. And this is really designed to put into place all of the processes and systems from everything that we have just talked about to ensure you have a studio that is ready to scale on this one. In this program, you have a one-on-one primary coach on this that you're going to be meeting, just depending on your schedule, every week or every other week on this one. But you've got access to 29 additional coaches. These are people who are specialists in ops, sales. We've got digital media buyers, social media strategists, marketing strategists, automation strategists, team and HR, 2 lawyers on staff, financial and financing. Think every single thing you need to scale your studio. I have learned that people can need to call a lawyer and spend $2,000, for something very small. These are the things we do not want you going and outsourcing anymore. When you look at the program and the method, it is built on the Grow Your Studio Profitably method. We're the people that had invented this. We've spent years perfecting this. We're the only people that do this. We start off with a foundational profit analysis on this one, and then we move into pricing you profitably. So we start off with a product audit. What are your best sellers? What are things you should be selling more of? How profitable are each of these? What does your pricing analysis look like? Are you placed in the right way based on how people are using your studios? We do a marketing study on this. In the US, we use Buxton. Around the rest of the world, we use Terragamo. This is where we look at a location demographic analysis, meaning what are the types of customers that come to you? Like we can pinpoint and know a lot about them. And based off of that, our team of pricing experts built a complete pricing strategy with you on this one. Then we start looking at how you're drawing leads in. Now, we do a lot of coaching on marketing. We have a dedicated team of 16 because we just did a couple of hires on this one. So we start off and say, what are we thinking of for Google and social ads on this one? Like, what are we looking at on this? How does the website and brand convert? What kind of social strategy do I need to put into place and where do I need to shift? Then we get into sales and retention blueprint. So my client journey is just every single step from somebody becoming a lead to becoming a long-term member. And on that journey, I want to get super granular. Like I want to make sure it is a beautiful journey. If you've ever gone to a hotel and you have been like, this was effortless. Like my favorite magazine was waiting for me. They knew I loved white chocolate covered strawberries. They heard that I was there. This literally just happened to my family. We were in Boston doing college football recruiting visits for my son, and literally they had like t-shirts from the schools he was going to visit and all of this. Like they made it exemplary. That's what we're looking for on this. Follow-up automations. What does it go forward on this? Intentional intake is that one-on-one conversation. Guys, I want to say that we do really script and practice this out with the script so that when people can dial this in, they can have a normal conversation. Like, and they can still know what they need to ask. Retention and renewal strategy, how you train your team. Oh, y'all have lots of thoughts with aggregators and ClassPass. Don't worry. We can talk for a long, long time on that. We're getting ready to do a big webinar on aggregators in about a month and a half on this. So, team with ROI, recruiting systems, how do we put that into place? Goals, training, and then getting into all of the things that really, really fine tune profitabilities, KPIs, budgets, pro formas, and projections on this one. A few things to know when it comes to pricing. We're not doing this in a silo. Like, we're not just going to be like, hey, we've never met you. Here's your new pricing. We're going to get on with you and we're going to be like, what do you feel comfortable with? What do you feel like will respond out? What are things that get you excited? What are priorities for you? We're going to do this alongside of you. So, we're going to explain why we're making recommendations, but we're going to tweak those recommendations to what you really want on this one. We do weekly one on one coaching. Our job is to figure out what the number one biggest priorities. We talked about $1 million problems on this one. We need to know what your $1 million problem is. I believe every studio in the world can do $2 million a year in business. We have seen this over and over and over again. We are working dozens of studios to that goal right now, but it comes by knowing what is going to be the thing that is the perfect thing to do that gets you 80% of the way there. It's like Pareto's law on where this is. We don't just coach you. If you have a team, we're going to be deeply invested in working with your team. In fact, for some of our studios, all our team does is work with their teams primarily. We don't just do this virtually, as lovely as that is. We do 1 and 2 day retreats. These are very intimate. We have 25 to 30 people at a time that can include you and your team. We allow you to bring up to 3 team members on this. Within this, we bring in anywhere between 2 and 5 coaches. We sometimes have amazing guest speakers. We do these in awesome places. So Miami, Barcelona, San Diego, Salt Lake City, Chicago, Paris, Charlottesville, just a couple of the last ones that we've done. This is about doing a lot in a day. And I think it's amazingly incredible in this one. Our marketing coaching is something we're deeply invested in. So we're up to 16 people on the marketing coaching team. I need to update this. We've done a lot of hires recently on this. We spent a lot of time determining what the gold standard is in our marketing in for studios. We spent $583,000 last year on research and development money. It gives us a really good idea of what works in what markets. I do not want you to have that test budget. You work with us and expect us to be the ones that invest that money to do that. That being said, we lay out for you every quarter what we think is really critical for you to be doing that quarter. We do it in a quarterly virtual marketing retreat. Our goal for you is for you to lay out your entire marketing for the next 90 days there. We have an entire library of automations. We update that regularly because we test so extensively. We test about 75 million total automations every single year on this, and we get into the nitty gritty on this. Sales coaching is it's soft skill coaching. So yes, we're looking for you to build the right client journey, but we're looking for people to be able to roll this out. We have done well over $500 million in sales for our clients through our coaching program on this. We have very individualized sales coaching for private, small group, and group studios. Those are distinctly different things, but we're there to really serve as a director of sales on your behalf. And finally, operations coaching, one of the most critical things on this one. We've owned and run, this is a typo, 420 studios, not 120, literally all over the world. We really know what this is like to run a studio. We want to make sure operationally you are completely sound on this one. We back everything up with an amazing vault. We have a 2-person team that just manage and build the vault of making sure you have everything you need on there. I think of this like an MBA in boutique fitness. I was so exhausted by saying, I have this quirky, very unique business in a very unique industry. And I wanted people just to tell me how to do it. And this is what we did. Amazing community that we have here. Now, for those of you that are in the startup phase, Start Your Studio Profitably is a very different beast than Grow Your Studio Profitably, because this is an agency program, meaning we take visionaries who say, I've got a big vision, and we're like, It's not a one-person job to open a studio profitably. And we take a dedicated team of 15 and we do this with you. So our team is literally creating all of your projections. They are building out all of your metrics. They are building all of your materials for financing and working with you and coaching you on how you're going to get this. We have 100% financing record. Alex, who's on here right now, is the king of this. We build out all of your labor models. We scale this up. We get crystal clear on what you want to exit for, what you want to do with this business, and we build a business that works for that. We will find your ideal market. We'll use Buxton and Terragamo as we're looking at market. We will negotiate on leases and with contractors. We have 2 lawyers who will make sure that you have every contract that you need customized for you. We have a full marketing agency that just does studio startups. So we will create, optimize, and run all of your paid advertising. We'll build all of your email, SMS, and WhatsApp marketing. We will create a ridiculously good social strategy on this. To give you an idea, in 2025, the longest it took for someone to sell their first 100 memberships and start your studio profitably was 6.5 days. The shortest amount of time was 15 minutes. We work with you on brand guides, website creation, social strategy. Y'all, there's so many different things. This is 100% a bespoke program. Okay, there are no videos to watch. There are no anything. We sit down with you. We look at your vision. We build your timeline that is unique for you. And then we go off on that journey to have the team with you that has done this over and over and over again. We use the Start Your Studio Profitably method. We focus on getting that foundational things. Is your business and growth model sound? How can we make it even better? How can we make sure it's maximized? What does your labor model really need to look like based on where you want your role in the studio to be? What are your pricing and projections? What do we need for you on legal? I do not want something as basic, because this just happened to someone who came to us as a new client and said, "Hey, by the way, I'm having an issue." It turned out that I used a name that was trademarked and I didn't catch it in time. And I spent all of this money and I'm 6 months in and I just got a cease and desist letter. And my lawyer says I've got to rebrand everything to the tune of $40,000 in new signage, website, branding, materials, t-shirts, you name it. Making sure that you're getting great on site analysis, negotiation, build out, equipment. Guys, we've got massive discounts on a lot of these things. Brand blueprint, so making sure we're clear on our visual identity, social strategy, your website and app and what they're going to do, your omni-channel strategy. And then when we get into new leads, we're going to be running lots of ads over Meta and Google, really getting dialed in on your sales process, building out that client journey throughout your waitlist building and your pre-sale and your grand opening, making sure you've got the ideal team. What is your recruiting system, your goals and training? And then, of course, everything you need to open profitably. So all the strategy behind your client journey, your pre-sale, your grand opening, all of your goals on where this is. Now, guys, important to know on this one, there is zero cost to apply for either program. We have a very limited number of spots. This is not something where we're like sending you to an AI bot or we're doing any of these things. We have one coach that does interviews for Start Your Studio Profitably. We have 2 coaches that do interviews for Grow Your Studio Profitably. They have a limited number of times on their schedule. They are going to completely sell out of those times in a short period of time. I recommend if you want one of these spots, you get your application in as quickly as possible on this one. If you get in and we're like not the best fit for us, we're not the best fit for you, please know we're going to make introductions. We got a ton of people that we know in this industry. We want to see you thrive. We're going to do it the best on this one. DM us the word bonus, guys, if you want to grab your bonus touch point guide. So if you go to @StudioGrowCo on this one, we can DM us the word bonus on Instagram. Guys, if you want to go ahead and get that phone call booked on this, our strategy session book, you can go to www.studiogrow.co/apply. What you can expect when you get on that call, a few things. These are actual coaches that are doing these calls. So these are people who have literally are in the program working with studios. Their first and biggest thing is to make sure that if you're an existing studio, that we know like what should the priority be? Like what is the area of focus, that immediate next steps on this one? I find that to be the critical. I think about this like if you've ever rock climbed before, you see that there are a lot of different routes to the top. Like I am a rock climber. I guess I should say that as we're going in. And some routes are very quick and simple routes to the top, and some routes are insanely complex and they have very high failure rates. Our job is to make sure you take that first step on the right piece of this. The second thing they're going to be looking for if you're an existing studio owner is so that we can get very clear on what are the biggest ways you're leaving money on the table. Like, where are places that if we solve this right now, you would see an immediate cash influx in your studio. And finally, to leave you with a plan. I want you to have a plan no matter what. You don't have to work with us to enact on that plan. It might short circuit some, or not short circuit, it might shorten the timeline on some things, but I want to make sure that you've got a plan on this. If you are a new studio on this one, we're looking for you to do three things on this call. So the first thing is we're looking to be clear on what your priorities need to be in opening the new studio. I mean, that's universal. We need to know, like, what do you need to do tomorrow? There's so many moving pieces with a new studio. It can quickly become something that you miss a major step in the process and you really find yourself in a negative place. So our job is to make sure we find the right next step. Second thing is to be very clear in your studio startup budget. Like, what are things do we think that you're overspending, things that we could really see you save on there? And what are our areas where you need to maximize? Like I get sometimes people with a marketing budget that I'm like, oh my gosh, if you do this, if you spent just a tiny bit of money on marketing, you would see that 10 times or 20 times on this. And finally, I want to make sure that you've got a real clear path to success on this. So those are what you're going to see on each of these. I want you just to go on ahead and click the button that applies to you. I want you to go on ahead and do this. So yes, if you have just have already opened your studio, go on ahead and click the button that says I am an existing studio. Click that if you're actually opening in the next 60 days. If you are somebody who is like, I am not opening for more than 60 days, or this is even just a pipeline dream, or I just signed my lease, click the I am opening a new studio. That's going to take you through the process. It's going to let you pick your times on this. We have only about 20 calls available this week. I'm sorry, it's pretty limited. A lot of us are snowed in. And again, we have a limited number of people on these on here. So I'll be watching as this goes. I'll let you know as we are filling up and what you can do when we run out on those. All right, guys. So let's go ahead. Alyssa, we got a lot of questions.
Okay. Yes, we do. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Just for reference, there's about 15 questions that I've screenshotted throughout this.
Okay,
So
let's start with
I'm,
the earliest questions
yep.
just to be fair on this. Alex, are you still on the call? He might have had to pop off.
Okay. I'm
Okay.
going to start here with, I think that this was the most recent. I'm just looking in my recent screenshots here and I'm just going to start rolling. Um, okay, no, not that. Okay, here we go. Can you clarify what you mean? Oh, this one I did answer this person, but I'll let you answer as well. I had answered
Yeah.
them in the chat. Can you clarify when you say intro packages, are you referring to only a free offering, a discounted taste of the studio? Maybe can you provide some examples of what that might sound like?
All right. Say that one more time as you just went out for just a tiny bit in the middle of that for me.
Can she said, can you clarify what you mean when you say intro packages? I did answer
Yep.
her, but if you want to maybe
Yep.
give some
Yep.
more
Yep. 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 Yep.
examples.
So think of an intro package as like a taste test of your studio. Like it's almost like an amuse-bouche if you go to a really nice restaurant, like you get that little taste to start the menu on this. But imagine if you took that amuse-bouche and then you could be like, this just isn't my restaurant. Like I could just walk out right now and I can go on that one. That's what you're really talking about. So there are different intro packages for different types of studios. So like if you're a private studio, the most common one is probably going to be three privates, but we've got plenty of ones where there's a single private, or you have a combo of privates and groups, or you might have specialty sessions based on needs that people have. So we've seen a lot of sessions right now around like menopause. We've got sessions around neurological conditions. So you can get very specific on those in the private sessions. For small group and group sessions, most people fall into a couple of different types of intro packages. So the first is a time-based intro package. So that's going to be like you get 2 weeks, you get 7 days, you get 1 month on this one. And those are almost always unlimited amounts that go with this. Now, then a session-based package is like you get 3 sessions. You get 6 sessions. You get 2 privates and 3 sessions on this one. So you can really play with this. There's also some really interesting things on benefit-based intros. And benefit-based intros are kind of like, um, you're getting something that they're almost always high ticket intro packages where it's results based. So like you're going to join us for 6 weeks and we're going to reset your metabolic I don't say your metabolic health because that's really the wrong word on this, but we use a much better word for this. But we're going to reset your metabolism. I'm going to do X and Y and Z, but it's very results driven on this one. Some of you asked earlier, there are low ticket intro packages. Those are normally less than $20. First class free falls into those on this one. So I think really important thing to know that's one of those. First class free can work really well, but it takes a very refined sales process and system. So my highest person from a conversion rate on first class free is converting at 57% from intro package to 12-month memberships on this. And I think that is a really important thing to recognize and know that is happening. That's where that's, if you're going to do that, if you're going to go and that's a very easy thing to market, you need to make sure you've got something very sophisticated behind it. And so there's no such thing as like easy and easy. It's like easy marketing, sophisticated sales process. Actually, to be honest with you, when I get very sophisticated marketing, like on a high ticket offer or something, it's a much easier sales process. So you're kind of picking which devil you want to dance with on this. So hopefully that helps. Alyssa, what I got is the next question.
This is a pretty short and sweet one. Do you think for marketing purposes, does yoga studio or wellness center sound better or do better?
That's something I would test. It's really easy to run that test. You would have a split test on marketing, and I would test both of those. I think that's a really important thing that's a market by market distinction. And in fact, I've seen things where it has been people have been like, absolutely, I hate that word with this. We do a lot of testing when we run marketing. We have 2 marketing agencies, a marketing agency that focuses on studios that are starting up and very bespoke level projects. So, people who are launching, $10 million studios and things like that. And then we have a studio I'm an agency that works with existing studios. And I can tell you, if I saw the amount of tests that we do in like the first 2 weeks, looking at details like that is the only way to know, is to test and see it in your market, because it's wild. The results that I've gotten for some of the tests that I've just seen in the last month are things that are like mind blowing to me. Yeah. Yep. Alyssa, what do we have for the next one?
The next one is the classic. Which CRM do you prefer? And then also he asked, this was Dylan, how do you follow up without being tedious?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So CRMs are a little bit like all of this. It's very dependent on you. There's probably about 6 or 8 primary CRMs. There's a couple that are like hyper regionalized. So if you're in Western Europe, if you're in the Middle East, if you're in Asia, there are some really specific ones that I think perform very well in those markets. But in general, there's 6 or 8 that are very strong. But a lot of it depends on your model. So if you're running, for example, privates, those are appointment-based sessions. There are a couple that would rule that out right away if you're running privates. Maybe you're somebody that is like, it's very important that I be able to run online classes or retreats. That would push me in a very different direction than someone who didn't say that. So I would tell you that this is where a tech stack audit is almost critical. My one caveat that I would say is when you are having conversations with CRM providers, I think it is absolutely 100% critical that the first conversation that you have on this is, what does your marketing automation look like? For some of them, it's going to be internal, meaning like it's within their software portfolio. And with some of them, it is going to be like an external provider. So a great example of this is LoyalSnap is an external provider that syncs with Mariana Tech, MindBody. I think they sync with Club Ready too. They have a number that they sync with on this one. And so you want to determine like what's going to be your marketing automation, because you touched on the thing that's the real headache of this, which is your marketing automations save a massive amount of time. They're not there to be the conversation. They are there to start the conversation on this. I think that that is I think that that is absolutely critical, that we have that plan in place. I don't know, that you have something that's going to be really strong there. And so if I was going to make my decision, I probably would make some decisions off of the marketing and automation software, but I would want somebody to really dive into the nuances of your business, because like this and what should my intro package be are two of the biggest questions that I get. And I feel like there's much deeper layers to that I'd hate to give you something that's just so generic that it's just not going to be useful for you. So yeah, but that's what I would be dialing into. Alyssa, what else do I have?
Erica asked, how do you figure out the maximum number of memberships you can sell
Oh, geez,
before there
yeah.
are too many and it becomes hard for members to find
Yeah.
spots?
Yeah, so we have an algorithm that we use internally. It's a capacity calculator. You probably actually saw it on that spreadsheet that I showed earlier, that there was a capacity that was like maybe the second or third tab over. So it is based on the capacity calculator that we use is based on a couple of variables. So the first variable is how many spots can you fit in each type of class? So like let's say you have a reformer studio that has 12 reformers. Like you can max at 12. But let's say that you do something that's a reformer mat combo class, and you actually can do 24 in that class because you've got 12 people on a mat and 12 people on a reformer. So we do it by class type, or by private. Well, I'll get to private sessions. That's a little bit different. Let's start group on this one. So that's the first thing that we look at. Then we look at peak hours that we know are going to be likely full on this. And we look at off peak hours and what we would expect our averages to be during off peak hours. And then we look at our projections and marketing calculations to say like where really can we go. We've been really good at being accurate on this. We've had a record number of studios go to wait lists this last year. And one of our biggest concerns was getting ahead of that, because like it's just no one wants to be a member of something that they can't get into. Like that will really rub people the wrong way. So I would say that it's some complex wrangling on that one. When it comes to privates, this is oftentimes like how many people can I comfortably fit doing privates in my space? So for example, I've got a space in New York who we love. Like they have a they have a very spunky clientele. Like Martha Stewart is one of their clients, and I just adore her on this one. She calls them out all the time on Instagram, but I think they have 14 or 16 one-on-one trainers, and almost all their people want to work out between like 6 a.m. and noon. And so it became like a capacity issue from a spatial capacity issue. This is where you start to get really creative and say things like do I go on ahead and do something and expand my space? Like it's also like starts leading you down other questions on this, if you can see that you're heading in that direction. So that is space, is the number one single biggest thing, plus peak hours on where this is. So those are the ways that we're oftentimes calculating it. I wish I had like we've built out all these fancy tools behind the scenes because we need to get to these numbers really quick, but a lot of times it's really putting a lot of just really putting down some really strong numbers on paper will get you there, just takes a little bit longer on that. Yeah, what do I got next, Alyssa?
Up next is there Dylan asked, is there a studio software? Okay, wait, hold on. There was a typo. Is there a studio software out there that can prompt to auto book those sessions, or are we suggesting that an automated process facilitates that?
Yeah, so when it comes to pre-booking sessions, I am actually suggesting that someone gets on, it's normally not on a phone call, but it's normally over SMS is most common, and that you get those sessions booked on their behalf. We are going to be prompting them in automations to book their first session, to book additional sessions. Like that is all things that are absolutely automated. But if you want to know they are booking those. I want you to have that as part of your process to be like, I am communicating with you. I am texting back and forth. So when automation is triggering that conversation, and then we're asking things like, tell me more about yourself. Tell me more about what time of day. Tell me about, what's happening in your life, your work. Like we've got a series of questions we're asking quickly to really design a quick schedule. It actually takes about 2.5 to 3 minutes. This is not a like intensive thing. So if you're looking at this and you're a typical studio and you're, I don't know, let's just say you're selling 50 intro packages a month, we're talking about an hour and a half a month on this, but the dividends on getting people on the other side, that is a strong return on investment. That's like a, $5,000 an hour return on what you're looking at on this. Yeah.
Okay, next question was concerning, I'm assuming you'll know what he was referring to for this. Numbers for a tier two or tier three city.
I hate to say this, we unfortunately don't do a lot of those numbers. We're talking, I'm sure, about numbers for sales conversion. We don't have those in a lot of tier two and tier three cities. I hate to say this, it is a massive leap of work to get that across all of our software vendors and then lay that out. So we have it on top of peak cities. What I will tell you is that like when we say New York City, we're saying the greater New York City area. So I'm counting in New Jersey, I'm counting in parts of Connecticut. So I've got like Greenwich in there, I've got Long Island in there. So we're thinking of that those greater areas. And that gives us a greater understanding of like what are the types of people and what are the types of tendencies. Like I know we've got a class pass question coming, but if I go to LA, which is highly class pass driven, like it's an exceptional number of people that are sitting there. I'm going to see that influence people in like Temecula and in I don't know, La Jolla and up in Santa Barbara and Montecito. Like I'm going to see that layout. So I'm looking for greater tendencies that are influencing it. For like, for example, Berlin. The reason we have such a low conversion rate in Berlin is they have been overtaken by a group called Urban Sports Club. It's an aggregator there, and it has really dramatically impacted studios' abilities to convert on this one. So I thought that was, I think hopefully that gives you an idea of why we're looking at what we're looking at. But I will tell you the one thing that is very clear is like, 5 to 15% is accurate across the board. That is accurate in small markets and big markets of what the intro package to average sale rate is. So we know that that is universally. It's just interesting to see some places where it's impacted differently. So hopefully that helps.
All right, up next, Brianna asked, can you elaborate on what a 6 to 12 week member journey is?
Yeah, so this is a largely automated process, but it's a process that really needs to be in a marketing automation system that's tied deeply into how people use your studio. So I might be starting off with a couple of things. So I might have something that is a bonus that is they're getting when they're a new member. So maybe for my referrals, they're going to be able to gift multiple intro packages. So that might be winding in because I know from a retention perspective, if I get someone to start a fitness program with a friend or family member, they do not need to continue it. They need to start it. The first 2 weeks really matter. Amazing med school study from a number of years back that shows that it's something crazy like 95% of people are still going strong 6 months later. So really important for us to like have some of those things dialed in and make sure. I might be having something that if I see 2 weeks in that they only have 2 sessions booked for the next 3 weeks, I might have a trigger that's going out to them that's like, hey, I know, can I get some additional sessions on for you? I see that the sessions are looking a little bit light. Maybe they hit like something that they should be praised for. So maybe they pop in 4 times 1 week and I'm like, holy cow, like you're breaking records in our studio. I love seeing what you're doing. You know what? I've got a little something special for you. Like I do a lot of carrots and rewards during this time. So like I have done things where I would have an automation that would be like swing by and pick something up. And then I would have a ton of like $5 coffee gift cards from a local coffee shop. And it would be like, oh my God, you got this. I love this. Let me grab you a coffee gift card. I wasn't even checking. I wasn't even looking to see if they did this. It was like a member happiness protocol. Like it was just a way to do this. So I'm really trying to nudge people into habits And all of my automations are about dialing those things in. And I know the more expensive my studio is, the more likely I've got some one-on-one touch points that are very much like, meaning I'm going to be like, hey, I want to get a quick call on the books with you 3 weeks in. I want to make sure that you've got everything that you need. And then they might be saying something like, oh, I'm really struggling to get into this class, or I like this instructor, but, and listen for buts. Those are really important transition words. Are going to tell you this is something you want to tackle now on this. Yeah.
Next up is Allison. What are your thoughts on using AI to write the marketing messages for emails? Do you find those can be effective?
I will tell you, it's really interesting. There's a bunch of studies that have come out in the last 6 months that AI is radically underperforming human written emails, um, uh, captions on like meta ads. Social media is actually the one thing that we find that you can really get away with using AI to generate. You want to really teach it what you want to know in your social media. You can use things for first drafts, but I would say you cannot be using AI driven things without a significant amount of modification and updating to the language. And there's a few things here. I think first, people are getting very attuned to something that is AI written. Claude is the best in my mind personally, is the best and the only one I would use to write anything. I wouldn't touch Chat GPT. I don't think I'd touch any of the other ones to even give me a first draft on this, but I'd be really cautious even with this. And the second thing is AI is not going to give you the exact same messaging twice, but it can look really similar. So, when we're going into these new studios, we do a lot of competition analysis on this. And we're seeing like language where you're like, oh my God, these emails are almost identical. And your clients notice that. Like if you're showing up in people's feed, if they're popping into your inbox and you're saying the same thing as another studio that's, a mile down the road, it is a massive problem. So where I use AI for marketing, very specifically, I definitely would recommend using it in your social media captioning. I think that's something that it can be trained really well on. And I think that that's an easy thing. Um, I would be very cautious on using it on your emails. We've tested this enough that when we're writing, we write something ridiculous. Like for a new studio, I think it's like 300 pages of emails. We do write those all by hand. I know that that sounds crazy to people in a day like this, but the performance, we've tested the performance between them. We know how different the performance is. So we're very clear on that. So I would say if you're going to use it, if you're like, whoa, I like really can't handle a blank screen. I am a writer. I have literature and philosophy degrees. Like I really dig it on this one. I do understand the people that come to me that are like, I am uncomfortable with this. My temptation for you would be, hey, let's go on ahead and do something that is where you get a first draft, but you're willing to really work on it. Or I would have someone else, I'd hire a copywriter. Some of these things, when it gets down to especially emails that are likely to be used for an extended period of time, when you're building these sequences and automations, you really want them to be well done. Like that is something, they are a conversion tool on this one, that they should generate an ROI and you should be willing to spend money on them. And I think, don't dance around that. Yeah.
All right. Up next, Dylan said, I have a 15-year-old studio under new ownership, and I'm wondering how you profit audit those legacy memberships.
Yeah, we have to do this a lot. I think we deal with an awful lot of people, and it's interesting. So when you're profit auditing legacy memberships, I mean, we've got to really, when we do audit assessments, we do that in our bespoke program where we'll do an entire audit of a studio, and we'll be very clear very quickly on what profit thresholds are. And then we're oftentimes going to divide up the members that are legacy members. So great example. This is recently we did this in this is probably about a 12-year-old studio. But it had multiple locations. It had a significant number. I mean, they had created like 20 different types of memberships over that 12 years. And so we had some people that were paying half of what like the going rate was when they had purchased the studio, and that was underpriced then. So we divided it up into like 5 types of memberships, maybe 3 types of memberships. It was like memberships where we absolutely have to go up on their rates and we have to have a conversation on this. But we were willing to for them to pay less than what the going rate was or what the going rate was going to be. We had people where we were like, we have to go up on their membership, so we're willing to pay what the going rate is on this. And then we had people that we were like, yes, we're going to let them lie where they are right now, but we're going to let them know that they're going to be going up in 6 months or a year. So we're putting them on notice that raise is coming soon. And so those were like big categories. It's a lot of crunch work, and it's really dependent on how long the studio's been around, how I'm going to say the term egregious, because when you start having 12, 15, 20 different membership types that have come up, I mean, we've seen as many as 100 membership types, which is just crazy that they've got people on. You have to kind of divide and conquer on this and decide what's worth going after and what's not. And by the way, that's true for any of you who have existing studios and you're like, I should raise my prices right now. Most of you should change your prices. It doesn't mean you have to raise your prices. Most of you should change your prices. I mean, we have written studio for most major brands in boutique fitness. We've written pricing for most major brands in boutique fitness. We have written pricing for 5,600 independent studios. We've written pricing in just about, I've written pricing in Sri Lanka. We have written pricing in some very quirky places. And pricing when done wrong is costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because it doesn't encourage people to buy what they should be buying. And it certainly doesn't help your retention, but pricing done right, you could probably make no other changes other than change your pricing. And I know this because we've had a couple of people tell us that this was all they were going to do in like the first 6 months. And consistently, they all added between $25,000 and $60,000. Like, it's just getting it right. Like, that's how important pricing is. And if you think about this, you probably recognize this. Like, I'm sure most people have a cell phone or a mobile phone that they have on here. You can imagine like how much time and energy Verizon has had to come up with to be like, this is how I price buying an iPhone. Like, it used to be like you had to buy the iPhone for $1,000. And now it's like you get the iPhone free, but you're actually paying for it every month. So you're really not getting it for free. My husband just had probably for my child, the most embarrassing conversation that he ever had, where he broke this all down as a lawyer to a salesperson. You could just see my kid was like, the sales guy was like, I'm gonna kill you. But it's like, but that's not free. That's like malicious marketing. Oh God. But like, that's what you're really thinking about on this. So yes, Alyssa, what do we got for my next one?
Brianna asked, how would you do a profit analysis on a studio due to open in 2 months?
Oh God. Well, it's really easy. I mean, you start off with projections and goals. So we start off with projections and goals, and we're very clear on, are those realistic? We'd be looking at a lot of materials about your location. And at that point, it would be like, do we think that this is a realistic assessment? And based on this, based on the number of spots you have, the number of classes you have, the number of private sessions you had, like, are we going to have enough volume for you to be profitable? And so it's a very straightforward. It is complex but straightforward. In other words, it's somebody doing a lot of work to get the answers, but it is a very straightforward process to go forward on this. It takes time. Like, that's something normally when we're writing projections, we're building labor models, we're running pricing on this one. It's about 45 hours to 50 hours is what we do each time on that. And I wish it was something quicker than that, but this is like something where you want to see every scenario, you want to play them out, you want to roll them through. So it takes its own time to do this, but it's time worthwhile. It's like, you always have to look at your time and ask, what's my return on investment for my time? In other words, like, if you are having a conversation with someone and they're getting ready to buy a $2,500 yoga membership or a $2,500 reformer membership, your half an hour with that person or 15 minutes with that person is worth $2,500. Like, that is a great use of your time. Like, that's where I would like you to spend it. You being able to analyze and be like, my model is correct. Guys, that is probably worth $1 million+. And it's funny, we have been going through an audit of Studio Grow. We're in like rapid growth and scale. We have been for a decade, but finally we brought in somebody very bright and was like, analyze everything, like, give us the pros and cons so that we can like make adjustments to the model. And I've got it like right over here on like, what do you need to restructure? What is your engine in your studio? Like, what are things that you're looking at? you want to put time and money behind this. Like this for us, I'm not expecting you to pay this. We're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get, like this done on this because it's that important for us. And that's where the investment is. Don't pay that on your studio. It's not worth hundreds of thousands of dollars for somebody to do that for you, but it's worth something for someone to do that well for you.
All right. Kamisa, I was chatting with her about ClassPass, but in case anyone missed it, just that conversation within ClassPass, and her concern is the conversion rate of the ClassPass is very low, and how to navigate that general conversation.
Yeah, so your conversion rate of ClassPass, the highest we've ever been able to get it is about 40%. And that was like us maxing out. That same studio, to give you an idea, when people were coming in an intro package, we're converting at 82%. So they were at half of that. And I would say that's a very decent ratio on this. Like ClassPass conversion takes a massive, massive, massive set of processes. And it also takes a willingness to say, I'm going to be really specific on what I get rid of. Like, for example, any aggregator, ClassPass, Urban Sports Club, there's a bunch of them. They're designed to be used to fill your least popular classes, not to be hogging your times of your best instructors, your absolute peak times on this. So when you're really grappling with ClassPass, it can't just be as faceted as I've got to convert my current ClassPass people. You're going to have to start with a weaning process and being very thoughtful. You're going to have to start communicating with people on why you're doing this. You're going to have to start laying out why membership matters. You're going to have to explain why ClassPass isn't necessarily the healthiest way to be a part of your studio, and ask people if that's really where they want to be giving their money to. You're going to have to go through all of those conversations. You're probably going to have to look and see, is ClassPass running ads on Google against you? They probably are. They are in most cases. So if I go up and I pull up your like Google My Business, I regularly see ClassPass selling an ad in the middle of it right underneath my website and just saying like, you'll never, I mean, like literally they're not using this exact words, but I've had words like cheapest intro package available on ClassPass, pay less on ClassPass. Like these are the types of words they're using. And you got to go back and say, no, you might be needing to negotiate on ClassPass. Like some of them, it's a necessary evil. Like you're going to be having some of this, but we're going to change this. So we had a studio group that we work with that we just literally made their 10-pack one of the most expensive things. I think it's probably almost higher than a drop-in, if not right at the same price of a drop-in, because ClassPass makes their decision on this, and they weren't selling many 10-packs. And so a lot of this becomes a pricing strategy as well, of where this is, and a negotiation strategy with ClassPass. So I wish ClassPass was like a simple question on this, but the fact of the matter is, like, ClassPass takes time to get this to a ratio. My benchmark is this: if you have more than 20% of your revenue coming from ClassPass, you should be concerned. If you are tracking as though you're going to have more than 20% of your revenue from ClassPass soon, you should be making changes to this. And so I say this because, you know, if you're sitting at 14% of your revenue coming from ClassPass, I'm not going to tell you to ignore it. I'd be monitoring it. But if it's steady, I'd say it's not dangerous. When you get over 20%, you start sitting in danger territory, because most of you guys are running probably sub 20% profit margins. And if ClassPass, and this is happening right now with a number of different aggregators, but if ClassPass decides tomorrow that the way they've been paying you, they're changing. They did this in 2016. They did this in 2019. You are going to lose your profitability, and you could find yourself unprofitable overnight. And that is a massive, massive problem, that if you don't have healthy profit margins, it's one reason why I sit here and preach like all the processes and all the systems to get to a sustainable profit margin. Like that's really what gets you there. And it's to be protective. I'm from New Orleans. If a hurricane hits, I'm sitting in Charlottesville, Virginia right now. I've got a snowstorm. Most studios are closed for the full week on this. Like we have to make sure that those are not things that take out our studio, because you are going to be struck with circumstances. Like that is normal on this one. I've had my studios since 2006. That means I've gone through a whole lot of election years. I have gone through a major economic downturn. In fact, I opened my first brick and mortar studio in the midst of the biggest economic downturn that we've had, recession that we've had on this one. I have been open during pandemics. I have been open during times of unrest in specific areas. Like I can go down the list of that. ClassPass kind of weirdly enough falls into this. Like it can be a circumstance that you put yourself into. Like you have to have it because there are a decent number of people that will come through, but you've got to treat it differently and you've got to look at it very differently. And it takes time. I wish it was something that's as simple as like, this is easy. It's not, but it is critical that you start looking at it.
Last
Yes.
question that I'm seeing, I'm going to combine them. Similar conversation. Leanne was asking about help choosing a management software system. She said hers is costing her money with a lot of errors. It's very frustrating. And Samantha was again asking about the most recommended booking softwares for private small
Um,
studios.
for private small studios, gosh, if you're private, it's probably going to be Arcata, Hapana, Walla. Um, those are going to be some of my top ones for private studios. Um, in terms of ones for all studios, add in Mariana Tech, which I think is excellent, which should have appointments have been kind of dicey for them for a while, but could be that it would be an excellent software if it's fully working. Um, if you're at other parts of the world, B Sport is a very interesting thing in Western Europe. They need some work on their marketing software, but they're very good software overall. If you're in Canada, Wellness Living is a very interesting option. They've been updating their marketing software, so that'd be a conversation I'd be really deeply wanting to have. Yeah, I mean, B Sport it's a tough one. And it's largely because the marketing is a problem. I mean, and it's a good solid CRM, but everything is manual. Um, I- if are you, Leanne, are you in Europe? Let me just ask this. Because most people choose B Sport because it's got that you are unusual. So most people choose B Sport because it's got an interface that is in a specific language. And that's why I say it like it's good in Western Europe. It's got a great French interface. They're a French company. It's got a very good German interface. Um, it struggles on the marketing side of this one. I probably would not have chosen B Sport in the US. Um, would be what I would say on this one because it's really a European software and that's where its focus really lies is its ability to have multiple language interfaces and that's what makes it very good for Western Europe. Um, uh, so I think that is, you know, what we look for on this. You know, I think that that's in general I would probably be looking at those as like top, the ones that I gave you, Mariana Tech, Moments, Hapana, Walla, Arquetta. Those are probably the top ones right now. Yeah, Camisa says we're switching from MindBody to Mariana Tech. It's already been so much better working with them, and our clients are very excited. MindBody's given us a lot of problems. I mean, here's what you need to know, and I think this is really important to understand for software on this. So there's generation one, generation two, and generation three softwares. So MindBody and Wellness Living are generation one software. Both of them wrote their foundational lines of code between like 1998 and let's just say 2005, which is a long time ago on that. Gen 2 softwares are softwares that really came out mainly like 2015 to 2020. So Mariana Tech is a generation 2 software. It was originally the internal software for Flywheel, which one member of the founding team of SoulCycle went and created Flywheel. They built their own software for it. It became Mariana Tech. It's a really interesting software infrastructure. And then you've got generation 3 software that have largely come out since the pandemic started. That's Moments. Moments was a college project that turned into a really strong software. Arquetta which is a really interesting one. I would steer 100% clear of Acuity. You will have no marketing automations. I would steer far from Wix. I would still steer far away from things that are not fitness focused on this. Um, Walla is another one that is a Gen 3 software. Typically speaking, the Generation 3 softwares tend to be the most robust on their marketing and automation capacities just because people were expecting it then. And so, there are different conversations. I do think that is something that you really want to be very thoughtful on. I will say out of all of the like Gen 1 and Gen 2 softwares, Mariana Tech is an excellent product. I think they've been updating their marketing suite. That is the only weakness that I would say that they have, is that's been something that they've been working, I think, really hard on. When I met with them last year, the last time I saw a bunch of members of their executive team, they were deeply focused on that. I think that's going to make them a very strong option because their CRM is really excellent. Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, that was the last of all the questions I had, other than Samantha just popped in the chat her thoughts on Acuity, unless you already touched on that. But otherwise, I don't have any more screenshotted questions.
I did. Okay, great. I know a couple of you were asking about the rates for what we have. We have a bunch of different levels of where this is. I will go ahead and be completely upfront that we are not a cheap service. An average grow your studio profit earns about $100,000 from us, and start your studio profitably. The lowest pre-sale we had this year was about 350, $380,000 in sales. Our biggest was right at $1 million. We really provide a great return on investment, and that's what our goal is. It's not to be inexpensive. It's to be something that is going to give you results. And I want to be crystal clear on that. I don't want to make this out to be as something like we're a bargain. I think we are a great value for what we give. But we are certainly, a service that is not inexpensive, and we're very good at working with people. So if you have something that have specific needs, we have things that scholarships and other things that we're very cognizant of based on people who come to us with very specific things. But for me to go through all the pricing right now, one, my throat is ready to fall apart, fall out of like, I'm like going, oh my God, I'm dying. My voice is starting to go. But two, I would probably wind up confusing you because we have a lot of different options on this. So I hope that is really helpful. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for an extra 50 minutes. I hope I was able to provide some things that you needed on this one. Unfortunately, my throat really is. I'm gonna have to book it in just a hot second. Alyssa, I know is going to be in touch. I hate to say this, I have not been looking, but I know Maria's been texting me that most of our spots have filled. I think she was able to open up a couple of spots midway through this is what I can see. So hopefully we were able to get another couple of people in. We're so looking forward to talking to so many of y'all. And anyway, it's been wonderful. You guys have a great one. Bye, guys.